Okay, welcome to Fruiting Body a Podcast, episode 10, with your host, Brendan O'Neill. We are Fruiting Body Mushrooms. We're a medicinal mushroom company. We're not selling yet, but we will have some products in the next 3 to 4 months if the logistics shape up. It's been a bit crazy right now. On today's episode, we have Shaun Stenning from 5 Star Marine, based in Phuket. I'll explain a little bit more, Shaun, right after this. So before we go, let's get this started. One quick thing, we found an amazing feature on YouTube. You should check this out. If you're watching this video and you click on any time place on the video itself, click on the description and chapters will appear. From these chapters, you can decide what part of the podcast you would like to watch. Hope you enjoy. So today we're with Shaun Stenning. Shaun is from Australia. He's part of 5 Star Marine. He's been with them for the past 12 years, I believe. And recently they started up a charity that is feeding the families around Phuket. So without further ado, let's jump right into this and let's find out about Shaun's story. So first, Shaun, thank you for joining us today. As we kind of discussed before on Fruiting Body Podcasts, we like to start with your journey and how you got from Australia to Phuket. Let's piece that together. Take it away, Shaun.
Yeah, so I'm doing boats now, but totally no background in boats. Completely had no idea about an engine or anything like this. I was actually started in IT. Went to university, got an accounting IT degree, come out of that into a startup, had a great success, sold out and burnt out at the same time.
Yep. And
said, okay, I need a break. So I was looking for a beach change, and anyone who knows Australia, I was thinking Sunshine Coast. But I thought, all right, well, I'm going to go to Thailand for a couple of weeks holiday first. Came here, walked on to Layan Beach and said, yeah, this is for me. That was January 1st. Said, this is for me. Rang my family and said, not coming home, get rid of my dog.
Which year was this? 2012, 11, or even before that?
Even before that. So what are we now, 2021?
2021. It's 2050, Shaun. We've lost track of time.
I know, with this COVID, I've given up writing dates or anything. So I think it's 15 years now.
15 years. Oh,
wow. So yeah, as I said, rang my folks. They took my dog. I had a jet ski, had a car, had a house, and said, please do what you like with it all. I didn't even, like, when people say I gave up and moved to Thailand, it's like, oh, but I went home first and repacked and got sorted with my life. And I was like, that's not me. I spent the first 3 years here and didn't go home at all. Wanted to make that really clean break. Because I'd seen a lot of people who said, I'm going to change, I'm going to do a complete lifestyle change, but they go back home and they get sucked back into that old lifestyle. Yep. And I was like, no, I'm done. I'm going to totally just move here, and didn't go home for 3 years.
So you stayed the whole time for 3 years here? And
Didn't.
No visa problem. Obviously, you're not old enough for a retirement visa at this point.
Problem. Yeah, lots of visa problems. But back then, the problems were less problematic. You know, like if you overstayed a little bit, they didn't care so much because it wasn't even on a computer back then. It was just if you overstayed, you left, you paid your overstay fee, you came back in, you went and got a new passport, and then off you go, clean, no overstay in your passport, not on a computer, not a problem. Now it's all digital, so it's all a different story.
And you got off the airport, you went to Layan Beach, you're just staying in a hotel. Did you end up staying in this area? Like, what would we call this region? Northern Phuket?
I haven't moved from this area. I started in Outrigger, but that back then, so now it's Sai, right? But it was Outrigger villas back then, so I just stayed in a villa, which was in that Layan area. Then I moved from Outrigger, moved to Anantara, moved from Anantara back to Outrigger, Outrigger to Anantara, and now I'm back at Anantara. So I don't know. I really fell in love with the area, and then for us, they're like, well, you have a girlfriend, like, was it the girl that kept you here? And I'm like, well, I'm now married to a Thai, and I do have a son, but all of that was post the decision to stay here. It just happened that as you start building your life here, those kind of bits fall into play.
What was it about Thailand? And sorry, I'll make this kind of a two-part question, because coming from Australia, I'm assuming you've been to Bali?
No.
Okay, so you never got the taste of the typical Aussie.
Well, I got to be really honest. My family's like a traditional middle class family, so our family holidays were within Australia.
Okay.
Every year we did 2 holidays. One was a camping holiday. We'd go maybe like to a river, or we would go to an area that was like bright. I don't know if you know this, but it's an area in Victoria. It's an area where you can go bushwalking.
Okay.
So that was family holiday number 1, and then family holiday number 2 was go to a beach. Yep. And so that was the Sunshine Coast for us. Every year we went and stayed same hotel, same beach.
So you're in Victoria, you're flying all the way up?
Oh no, driving.
See, I used to live on the Gold Coast I lived there for a year. So you're talking about a 3-day drive?
You're talking about a 16-hour drive, and my dad's a school teacher, right? So we'd all finished school the same day. He'd come home, and he's like, everything in the car. Yeah. So it was like that Friday that he's finished school, he's in the car and he's driving.
Yeah.
And there would be no pre-booked hotels or anything. It was just like we would drive until Dad needed to sleep. And it was like sometimes that was just the side of the road, I
was on the Gold Coast, so I would drive. I only did it once. I went camping up at the Sunshine Coast. And I remember it was raining, and it must have been like 9 p.m. at night, and like those roads felt super sketchy at night. I mean, there was shit running on the roads. You had wallabies.
Yes.
And it's pitch black. It's super slick. I mean, so your dad's just ripping around 16 hours straight coming from Victoria.
Yeah, his thing was he's on holiday and he's getting to the Sunshine Coast and onto that beach as soon as he possibly can. No flights. I think when I was 17 was the first time that we flew, but not everyone in the family flew. It was like, because I think it was exams or something. So I had to fly up. My sister had to fly up. My mom, dad, brother, they drove.
So Victoria, it's Melbourne, right?
So, everyone who asks me, I say Melbourne because I actually come from a really small country town that no one ever knows about. It's hard to find on a map. So we're actually right on the New South Wales Victorian border. So it's not as far, we're 2 hours closer to
Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you're talking, say, a 16-hour drive on the Australian highways, which actually they're not that safe.
It used to be Dad would be like right on the speed limit until Mum fell asleep. And he'd inch it faster and faster and faster. Then she'd wake up and he'd inch back again.
Yeah, I had that ride, and it was super sketchy. So was this your first taste of the beach life, the Sunshine Coast? Is this did this drive you to Thailand, that you wanted to try that lifestyle, or what actually drove you to Thailand?
Yeah, I think it was actually, I really love those family holidays. They're a great memory for us as kids, and I really just wanted to go back to that time where it was relaxed, it was peaceful. You'd go surfing, you'd go swimming, you'd walk around bare feet. And when I sold out of the company that I was in, we were working 20-hour days, 7 days a week.
This was Geekversity?
Yeah.
Geekversity. Yeah, because there was a clip on YouTube. I saw you were on, you looked, you had a tie on all fancy. You're probably familiar of this clip.
Yeah, I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, my gosh, I was young. What did I say?
So what was this company all about?
Essentially, we were selling a product that allowed people to create automated website systems.
Oh.
And the product was okay, but the success of the company was so fast. We went from 0 to about 18 million in sales in 6 months.
Wow.
And we had these mass hiring events where we would bring 20 people into a room and just hire them all because we couldn't keep up with what was going on. And it was just stressful. It was really, really stressful. And that's what drove me to the beach. I think it was like, I just got to change my life because if I kept going down this path, anyone who's in technology would say it's a 7-day-a-week job. If you're not coding, you're doing business, and business in my technology business was done in the bars. Yeah. So it was like 8, 9, even when I sold my company, it was a deal done in a bar at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, okay, the lawyers come in the next day and start to clean up the deal, but the actual concept of what we were selling was all done, in a bar. And I was like, I just can't. I didn't want this life,
Yeah,
I didn't want it.
It's especially in the computer science world, it's constantly changing. You always got to be on the forefront. And I mean, if you're not coding and improving, you're maintaining. So it's a never-ending gig.
Yeah. And look, and I also think, anyone who would talk to me about like, why did you decide to stay? And it's like, I looked at my parents. I love them, and sure, they're watching this. And it's no offense calling us middle class family.
No.
It's like they worked really, really hard to pay off a mortgage and put their kids through school and buy a car. And I always felt like it was like they were chasing the next step. And it's like I wanted a clean break of not just going to a beach, but I just wanted to clean break from that kind of life, full stop.
Yeah, and that middle lifestyle, I think my parents are probably middle, maybe upper middle, but it's kind of hand to mouth a little bit, where you're every month you're paying your car, you're paying your mortgage, you're paying your insurance, but at the end of the month, there's not much left saved over, let's say.
Yeah, and like at these family holidays that we did every year up to the beach, it was like mom and dad had a budget, and once we hit that budget, that was it.
Time to go home.
Let's go home. It's like, and my mom and dad were very, very credit adverse, so there's no credit cards. They don't want a loan. It's like, and, my dad was a school teacher, but after school, he'd be doing extra stuff to make money. My mom worked in a pharmacy. She would finish and then go work in a restaurant. And we knew that their after work jobs were to pay for our holidays. They just call it it's their holiday money. So they're working so hard. We're not really seeing them a lot. And I'm just like, I don't want that life.
And at this time, I mean, how did you get into the computer science background? Because we're probably close to the same age, but from what I remember at that point in time, computers were new, the internet was new. I mean, even your T1 connections, this was all new. So a lot of kids from that generation were just getting into the online gaming. And from that's what led to them going into computer science at university. Is this similar to your path?
So I made a decision about what career I wanted to go into based on what I didn't want my life to be like. So certainly it was expected in my family that I was going to be a teacher. That was what mum and dad thought. I was good at sports. My dad's a PE teacher, and it was like expected that I was going to go be a PE teacher. And I'm like, in my circle of family, the wealthiest person in my circle of family was an accountant. Okay. So in school, I studied accounting, I studied economics. I wanted to go and be an accountant. And when I was talking with my uncle who was an accountant, because I wanted a different life, I wanted a different level of wealth in my life, and he was the role model to follow. So when I was talking to him, he's like, you should do a double degree. He's like, you should do accounting and IT. He's like, if you do a double degree, that's going to be even further your economic situation. And so I went to university, did an accounting IT. I worked as an intern in my uncle's accountant firm. And I actually found out in university I really hated accounting, because all you were doing was counting other people's money and showing them how they can minimize their tax. Yeah. And and he set out for me this career path, and he's like, so you're going to be an intern, and then once you get accredited, you're going to be a junior accountant, then you're going to be a senior accountant, and then you're going to be a partner. And the real money is when you're a partner, but when you're a partner, you have to work really long hours. I'm like, this really does not sound like a cool life, Yeah. And like as an intern, I'm sitting there doing tax accounting for. In Australia, his accounting firm was doing tax accounting for some very well-known Australians, and I knew what salary I was on, and I knew how much money I was saving them, and I was sitting there going, "Yeah, this is not cool." So I followed the IT path, and that I stumbled through IT. I had no background in IT. I wasn't a gamer at home. Chuka, we had dial-up internet, and it's just I fell that way for money. Really, I fell that way for money.
There could have been the path to prosperity if you went down the computer science path.
Correct. Yeah, I just really felt like I love my folks, but they struggled. Yeah, they struggled, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to bring a family up through struggle. So I thought I'm gonna follow this IT path. I'm gonna follow this accounting path because it's different, and the people I knew in my life were successful and rich down this path. And I was like, that's what I wanted, you know.
And now that once you've got into your own business, I'm 100% sure you saw the value of that accounting experience, because I do some operations stuff. I have some other electronics business manufacturing stuff that I do. Yes, I took some accounting courses, but I also manage the accounting on my side. And that's kind of one thing I wish I had a better school of thought behind, is accounting. And I'm sure like that has probably added a lot of value in your future business endeavors.
Yeah, I think, you know, the IT degree allowed me to get into the IT business, but without the understanding of the accounting degree, the understanding of how a business works and how it operates and the P&L, you know, I think there's some amazing coders, but they're never going to be really wealthy people because they don't understand the business side of why they're writing code.
Exactly.
You know, if you can understand the business side of what you're writing, I think that's the best thing that you can do. And I think, you know, as I now continue in my business life, I lean more on the accounting degree than I do on the IT degree, and I don't think I would have been able to survive COVID if I didn't know how to lean on the accounting degree.
And that can be applied to any form of business, especially people who are specialists in their school of thought, whether you're a nutritionist or you're a private trainer or you're opening up a Muay Thai gym. Leaning on the accounting side, it's going to be your foundation, I think, to run any business.
Yeah. You know, you need your budget, you need your P&L, you need to understand, you know, if you're going to go and sell a company, you got to understand, you know, like your EBITDA, you got to understand all this kind of stuff. And without the accounting degree, I'd have no concept of any of that kind of stuff.
And nobody understands this EBITDA or epitad.
You know, I actually think on my end, if you were to put my coding skills next to anyone else, I would be the worst coder in the room.
Yeah.
But the reason that I think that our technology a company was successful was because I understood the business concept of what we were trying to do.
And you could at least speak the language to the coders to give them some direction as well.
Correct. Yeah. That was the upside. It's like I was the guy that understood the business, but also could speak the language, and I could pick up if someone was trying to tell me that their code could do something that it probably can't do.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you don't have the experience, someone, and you're just say like a venture capitalist or just investing, that coder could bullshit you and you would have no idea.
Yeah. And that's how it works in this world now. You know, it's like a lot of coders are telling you that their code could make your computer fly, but like you got to go and look and say, well, does it really do that?
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, you can kind of read through the bullshit. You can't, well, for me, you can't bullshit a bullshitter, but that's just to me. Okay, so well, we've talked enough about accounting. I think we don't want to bore the. I love this stuff. I love this stuff, but. Especially on the business side and gaining experience from other people's experience in the business and how they grew their businesses. But what our listeners and what all our 4 listeners are interested in is we're interested in how did you choose Thailand as that destination? Before coming to Thailand, did you have any other considerations? Philippines, Indonesia, why Thailand? And specifically, why Phuket?
So this is a unique aspect to my story. As I said, family holidays, all in Australia. We did one family holiday to Fiji. That was the first time I ever flew internationally. The second international flight that I took that was not business related, so on a holiday, was to Phuket. And that was the flight that decided never to go home again.
Okay.
So did I research Phuket? No. Did I research other locations, Philippines, Indonesia? No. I had a friend who was in Phuket. He messaged me and said, you should come to Phuket. And I said, okay. Yeah. But it just happened, you know, here's the uncanny nature of the world that we live in. In university, I went to university when the tsunami hit over here.
2004, yeah.
Yeah. So I was in university. I was on the student association. And we decided that we were going to run a fundraiser in university to help the victims of the tsunami. Mm-hmm. So we ran a tsunami appeal. And in university, how do you run fundraisers? You run parties. So we did the very first ever 24-hour party. So we got special permission from the police. We had all these sponsors giving us free alcohol, giving us free buses, free food. And we charged people an entry fee, all of the university students an entry fee. And we raised something like 200,000 Australian dollars.
Oh, wow.
Still got the little award from the dean of the university that says that. And I sent all that money to the Red Cross in Phuket. Didn't know where Phuket was on the map back then, you know, like, because student association, we just party. That's all we do, you know, like, and I couldn't find it on a map. And then it's turned out I ended up here. And the story combines now that, you know, I live here. So maybe somewhere in the subconscious, the brain was saying, go to Phuket.
Go to Phuket. Yeah.
Go see what you looked at supporting. But
how many years after that, this charity event you were running, did you actually end up making that first trip?
Only a few years.
Only a few years. Yeah. So not a big gap.
Yeah. I think it was a subconscious connection. But if you ask me, did I consciously decide I wanted to go there? No, it was, I had a friend that was here, messaged me, said, come over to Phuket. Let's hang out on the beach. Yeah.
And then what you got to Phuket, you're so we're in the northern part of Phuket. Now this podcast is at Surin Beach. I don't know if we want to give that information away. Don't find us. Don't come knock on our door. But you're a bit north, kind of, Liane. I'm going to say 20 minutes, but we're still anything north of Kamala is, I call it like north of Patong, because even Kamala, in my opinion, is kind of Patong in some sense. But when you came and you landed in Phuket, you're coming for this relax and, maybe self-actualization and just getting away from that corporate life or that, that stressful business. Did you have any plans in mind of what you were going to do, or did you just try to come with a clean slate and see where it went?
I was in a transitional phase of my life where I had a little bit of money that allowed me to not have to worry about what the next thing was. So I came to Phuket and did what everyone does when they come to Phuket first time, just lived in the moment. I wanted to go to the beach, I'd go to the beach. I wanted to go drinking, I'd go drinking. Back in those days on Layan Beach, it's a 6-kilometer beach. There was bars all along the beach. The thing to do as an expat back then was you'd start right up at the Layan National Park and you would drink your way along the beach at every beach bar that you could get to and hope that you could get to the other end and then come home, And so that was what I think I did that for the first month.
I didn't know there's actual. I moved here in 2016, so they must have ripped all those beach bars off.
Oh yeah, all down, man.
Really? So that all of Layan let's call it northern Bangtao, right? So starting the most northern point would be like what we call Nikki Beach or Dream Beach.
So Dream Beach, you would drive your motorbike down, park at Dream Beach. Dream Beach wasn't there.
Was Nikki Beach there at that time?
Nikki Beach wasn't there.
Okay.
And you would walk down and it would be beach huts.
Yeah.
So beach huts, they'd have, a few beers and maybe they'd have a Bacardi Breezer. There was no cocktails or anything. It was just beer and, mixes.
Anything bottled wise.
Yeah, anything bottled. And, at that time, it was pre, the woke generation. So there was elephants on the beach drinking beer and they'd be swimming in the sea.
Really?
And yeah. This was the scene that I walked into. And
was it huts or like any proper foundations?
No, all huts.
All huts?
All huts.
Oh, wow.
And so you would just like go from beach hut to beach hut to beach hut, and maybe you'd sit and have a few beers with the locals at each of the beach huts and just try and roll your way to the end. And along the way, you'd pick up a restaurant and pick up some Thai food. And
so what happened to that? Did someone come in? Did they clear it out? Did they move away?
Well, when they did the last coup, right?
Yeah.
So what was that? About when you came, right? About 2016, 2017 when there was the last coup?
There was a couple of them. I used to play ice hockey in Bangkok. And I was living in China, so I would go to Bangkok to play. I think the first time I went, or the time there was a queue, I think it might have been 2014 or 15. It was the first one where like everything was shut at midnight.
Yes.
And then that slowly went. So that must have been 2015, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So when that coup came in, one of the promises of the, what do you call a coup leader? Whatever they're called. One of these promises was, I'm going to give back the beaches to the THAIS, because all these beach huts are on public land.
Yeah.
So it's all illegal, right? So he said he's going to come in and clean the beaches. Mm-hmm. So he went in with diggers and they went in with bulldozers and they knocked all this stuff down.
Oh, so this is the time even at Surin Beach when they knocked all this. That's the same time or a bit later?
So Surin survived a little while. So if you know the local story, right, when the tsunami hit, a lot of the governments were given money to help the Thais to get back into business and start up again, right? So a lot of those buildings that were on Surin Beach, why they're on illegal land, they were paid for by the local government, right? And so they survived a little bit longer than what a lot of other places did, because there was this little loophole around, we're trying to help Tsunami families get back on their feet. We don't want to knock down the building that we used maybe internationally donated funds for, and so there's some logistics around this that they had, and this is why, you know, when I first came here, I don't know what it was like pre-tsunami. I don't know if there were all these buildings on the beaches pre-tsunami, but I know post-tsunami that a lot of families were given the right to just go build on public land as a way to try and survive post-tsunami. Even my wife's family is the same. You know, she used to have a tour shop right on the beach, and that was a post-tsunami gift from the government that allowed them to do this, you know.
So the government did the brick and mortar, and then they didn't have to pay the rent.
Didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah.
You know, they paid just light and power.
Got it. Yeah, because it's government land anyways.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so when the coup came through, they went and knocked all this down, and that's why a lot of these beaches have changed. And you know, the restaurants. I don't know if you know, it's called Sai now, but outrigger. Sai can access straight to the beach.
Yep.
But going back maybe 4 or 5 years, you couldn't access the beach from Sai or outrigger. It was shops all the way along. So local restaurants, local bars, local clothing retailers.
And that's kind of like at Pig Beach where that connects.
Yeah. So all of that whole area there was all just Thai shops all the way.
Gotcha.
You could, like, if you were doing a beach bar hop along that beach, that 1 kilometer would knock you out, you know, because it was like ba 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 ba.
But it seems like it's starting to make a comeback now. There's Beach Pig, I think it's called, and that area has been there forever, but it seems like it's coming to life. There's been about 3 or 4 different Farang bars and restaurants that have opened up right in that corner.
But it's interesting, like if you keep up with what's happening locally now in that area, it's like Tony's restaurant right now is scheduled for demolition.
Oh, really?
And this is based on the coup order. You know, now finally it's worked its way all through the courts, and they said, okay, it's legal, knock it down. About 6 months ago, next to Sai, there used to be a group of shops there.
Yep.
They've just knocked all that down about 6 months ago. You know, is Beach Pig going to be here 6 months from now? Let's wait to see.
Yeah, that's interesting. I heard about Tony's getting knocked down maybe even a year or more ago. They were supposed to, and then it just didn't happen.
So Tony has rebuilt that shop, I think, like 10 times. He keeps getting knocked down and rebuilt, down and rebuilt.
Yeah, because Hugo Hutt was beside it.
Yes.
But Hugo, he was telling us, he was on the podcast. He said they'll be back there. He said they've re-signed for the land, so whatever that means. But he was also explaining to us that when he was cleaning up Hugo Hutt and he was going to build it, there was a foundation under that land, which means he thinks there was something there maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah, look, as I said, I don't know too much pre-tsunami what was being built on those beaches. I know what I experienced when I walked on that beach first day, and like as someone looking to, you know, completely change their life, like a month of just bar hopping along a beach sounded like a really good idea.
Yeah, and you said that the coup came in to give it back to the THAIS, but I'm a bit confused on that because aren't the THAIS using it? So then you're taking it away. So what do you mean?
Yeah. So the concept was, it's like, well, this one family has a shop on the beach, and that's not fair, right? Because this beach is owned by every Thai person. Well, it's owned by the king, but technically every Thai person has a right to this beach. So why can this one family profit from it? Okay. So let's knock it all down, and no one can profit from it. And that was the whole concept of the campaign. And you know, during this time, they were talking about, well, what if we just give 10% of a beach space to commercial activities? So I don't know if you were here during the period where you would walk along a beach and it would be like clean beach, okay, and then it was, okay, now there's all these sunbeds in this special zone. Yeah. And then in that zone, they were selling food and beer, and then it was clean beach again. Yeah. Okay, that was part of them trying to appease the locals by saying, we're not going to destroy everything. We'll give you a little bit. But, you know, now it's kind of like, well, that whole concept's gone.
Yeah, it's out the door.
Yeah, it's out the door now.
And, well, it's hard to say with, we won't say the C word on here because we're afraid YouTube's going to shadow ban us. So we'll call it the current situation. With the current situation, who's to say what will happen in the next year? What do you think is going to happen in the next year in terms of tourism, redeveloping? And I think even Koh-Phi-Phi is a good spot as almost a great benchmark of whatever is going to happen there is probably going to carry over here, because pretty much that whole island shut down and all those businesses are done. So when this place opens up again and the tourists flood in, Who's rebuilding in Koh Phi Phi? Who's rebuilding in these places like Kata, Karan, where all the shops have shut down? What do you see happening?
Well, that's a good question. It's a tough question to answer as well, because as a tourism business, we want to put out a positive message and say, you know, we expect in the next 12 months that those who do come to Phuket are going to see it like never before. They're going to have an amazing experience, and they're going to see it like we've seen it for the last 12 months. And we do hope that sustainably it's going to rebuild. But I think, you know, the reality of the economic situation here is going to be, if the tourists do come like in a flood, then everyone's going to be running as fast as they can to get a business open, and make some money, because we've all been losing money as crazy as possible. You know, heaps of my friends are like, I really hope that they don't do group tours again. They don't do mass tourism. They limit the numbers. I'm like, you know, you don't see what's closed here. You know, like Phuket needs mass tourism to get back on its feet. You know, like that's the only way. And what's going to come with mass tourism? It's going to come with reef destruction. It's going to come with all these negative side effects that we've all seen has changed in the last 12 months. So I don't know, the next 12 months, what's it going to bring? I think if you ask me today, and then you also ask me tomorrow, I'd give you two different answers, because day by day, everything is changing. You know?
Yeah, I honestly think that a lot of these shop owners, let's say, I mean, you've probably driven through Karang Kata, and it's devastating. It's a ghost town. My guess is the owners of those businesses have probably gone back to Isan or wherever they're from. And I think when the doors open, that if they had a shop there before, I'll throw a number out there, 70% of them will probably knock back on the door of the landlord, reopen shop and rebuild it, because it's pretty easy to turn the key if you've been doing it for 20 years. If that was a place selling beers and popsicles and, you know, trinkets, I mean, it's quick for them to source and get the product and open the shop. It might take a couple months, but it's easier than like, well, let's put something completely different in here.
Yeah, my gut tells me that maybe these developed stores that we see now are going to go back to the old-fashioned version of, you know, bamboo beach huts. You know, they're going to do the least capital-intensive way to start up again, and it might be back to what I experienced when I first come, where everything, you know, like the Surin built up really big. You know, like they had some beautiful beach clubs and everything, but when I first came here, it was all bamboo. You know, it was. And over time, as they got success and made money, they started to build real buildings. And then as they got more successful, they expand. So I think we're going to go back to the least capital-intensive way to restart a business. Yeah. And then as it grows with success, then they'll start putting real foundations down, and that's how it's going to work.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense, because if you come back and you're not spending all this money on the brick and mortar, and you can get this thing opened up, and I mean, for Thai people to build bamboo huts, they can do that in a couple weeks. Yeah. You're rock and rolling, and there's a bit of insurance on that. What if the C word comes back? What if something happens?
Also on that end, they're not having to hire people to do it. You know, like
they can put it together.
They can put it together themselves. Yeah. You know, like that cool guy at the bar selling you the beer, he can build that bar.
Yeah,
you know. Okay, once it turns to brick and mortar, he can't. But like to build it with a bit of bamboo, or you know, that's how he's going to start. You know, I think that's okay. I think that's how it's going to happen, and maybe that's cool, because that would for me reminisce back to some of the memories of what Phuket was really like when it used to be.
Well, there are some places that it's still like that. We had a couple. We did this Muay Thai and mushrooms thing. It was a kind of an event, kind of a charity as well, to give. Put on a Muay Thai show in February. It was the first Muay Thai show, probably in about a year. And we were thinking, okay, let's get the trainers from the Phuket gyms to come into this show. So we did 4 fights so that we can give them money. We can get some content, and it's a win-win for everyone. But the point of that story is we were down in Nai Harn at a hidden location. I don't want to give away because it's amazing. But when you go there, it's kind of between I guess it's between Kata and
on the road to Nai Harn.
On the road to Nai Harn, that like back road through Kata though, it's back in there. And when you went on that land, everyone that came on that, and even for myself, it probably felt like what Phuket was 20 years ago. And when you get that feeling. You can also get that in Koh Phangan. There's a few spots. That's Thailand to me. Yeah, I agree. Like that feeling.
Yeah, you know, I was messaging. I had a customer go on our boat yesterday, and then they messaged me how happy they were, and I said to them, "Look, you know, the one thing that the whole reason I built my company, 5 Star Marine, was because I wanted them to experience Phuket in a way that through my eyes. You know, it's like I spent so long here exploring islands. It's like they're like, we can tell your staff love their job. I'm like, well, one of the reasons that I stayed here is because the authenticity of the Thai people. You know, is like a lot of. I feel like that when I was here first is that they really loved having the foreigners here. They really loved having the tourists here. Maybe over time, some of that love went away, but now that we've had a break, maybe it's going to reinvent itself and it's going to be back to that point. And, you know, it's like, they're like, for me, I really do hope that when they rebuild the industry here in Phuket, that they take some pointers from what it was like 20 years ago. Because that's the thing that's going to bring the tourists back.
And reestablish, get that feeling back, where it's a bit more rustic.
Less commercially orientated, you know.
Which is important.
You know, it's like even I run my business. We're a big business now, but we run it like a family business, you know, and we want them to feel that love. We want them to know that our staff are loved and that our staff love their jobs. And they're not doing it because they're getting paid. They're doing it because this is truly what they want to do.
So you land in Phuket around 2009, 2010?
Yeah, around then.
Okay, and then around, if I'm correct, around 2011, 2012, you start 5 Star Marine.
So I start a version of 5 Star Marine.
Is this the first thing you started, or was there something a little bit before that, or anything, or you just?
I got bored of being on the beach.
Yeah, how did this come together? This business idea.
So that's where you meet my wife. So. I met my wife on that beach. She had a tour shop on that beach.
On land?
Yeah, okay. On that beach. Her family had a shop. I bought my first private boat from her. And I would go to her shop most days, you know, when we were in that dating stage, and when we got married, I'd go to the shop most days and chat with the customers and talk about where they're going to go. And it just came that I really started to love that, you know. I was missing that connection with foreigners, and so at her shop I really had that connection, and so I started to sell private boats from her shop, and then I would go on the boat with them, you know, just like it was fun. I really loved going on the sea, and then when I started going on the boat, I'm like, oh, you know, well, that guide, he doesn't really know where to go anymore. Like, I've been to PP 100 times, you know, he's going to take me to Maya Bay with every other boat, and I started to formulate ways of running tours where we could miss crowds and ways of doing experiences. Yeah. Whereas like I could start showing them the parts that because I got to see PP in low season, and in high season, it's like, oh, this is crazy. This is ridiculous. This is not even beautiful. It's not even beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I the first evolution of 5 Star Marine was just, didn't even have a brand. It didn't have a name. I was just this guy on the beach with his wife who would go on a boat with you, and you'd rent a private boat from him, and you'd have a different experience.
So you purchased the boat off her, and you have her shop. And
oh gosh, no, we didn't even purchase boats back then. I didn't know anything about a boat, Brendan, man. We just hired them. We leased them.
Were they speedboats?
Yeah, speedboats.
What was the motor you guys were using then?
Yamahas.
Yeah. And so the horsepower?
250s.
Two 250s?
Yeah.
And you would take that people on tours from. Was the jump off Lion, or were you going off?
We go across the island.
Gotcha.
Go across the island, jump off piers like Yamu or Boat Lagoon, things like this. And again, like we were renting boats because I had no idea about a boat. You know, I wanted someone else to manage that problem. But we were getting so successful through word of mouth. You know, we didn't have a Facebook page, a website. It's just they just knew our shop location. They'd text their friend and like, go out the front of Outrigger. There's a guy there. His name's Shaun. Go on a boat with him. So we started to you know, get a lot of referral word of mouth businesses, and year after year customers would come back and back and back, and I started having never ending problems with people that I'd renting boats from. You know, like only expats would know these problems. You know, it's like I was renting so many private boats from this one company that I'd ring him and say, all right, tomorrow we want to go PP, and he's like, my captain's tired, he doesn't want to go, sorry, you can't rent my boat. I'm like, really? You don't want money? Money's not a good thing for you? He's like, nah, my captain's tired, he doesn't want to go. So it's like, now I'd have to go find another company, and I'd have to teach them my program, my service, manage the problem. You know, it's like boat. I'd have these headaches, you know. I'd turn up at a pier, and I'd tell the boat owner, I need the boat at the pier 8:30. And I would turn up the pier 9, you know, because I tell them 30 minutes beforehand, just to make sure they're out on time. I turn up the pier at 9. I'm like,
Not there.
where's my boat?
Typical. That's okay.
I'd ring that boat owner and he'd be like, the captain's not awake yet. I'm like, can you wake him? No. I'm like, so I'm standing here at a pier with my customer, sold a private boat. They're expecting a private boat. We've got nothing. And so I got to this point where I needed to manage away these risks because it was starting to affect my brand, and at this point I didn't have 5-Star Marine as a brand. It was just my personal, that guy on the beach.
There's no name to the company.
No name to the company.
You didn't want to give it a name, kind of like finding a new puppy. You didn't want, or like, what was the reason? Just
because it was so natural,
Gotcha,
it was just natural growth,
Yeah, I got you.
It's like, it's not like I sat down and said, I'm going to start a private boat business. It's just like I tripped into it because I loved going on a boat. And if I sold someone to go on a boat, it just felt natural that I would go on the boat with them, and then, we just slowly grew. It's just organic growth out of this point.
And the motivation, not obviously at this point, money was not motivation.
No, it was purely, I wanted to go in the sea.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go in the sea as much as possible because I loved it. I really do. If you say to me, what's my happy place? On the sea.
Okay.
I want to be on a boat, rain, big waves, small waves, sun, I don't care. I find it very peaceful. If you're having a bad head day, go on a boat. I say to anybody, if you're having a mentally tough time, go to the sea for a day.
Just recharge.
It's just going to clear your mind, like it's you, it's the water, and that's it, And, back then the internet, your reception wasn't great. So I'd just go on a boat for a day and I'd have no phone,
Yeah,
nothing,
at least you can disconnect because at a certain point when you get out there, the service dies anyways.
Yeah. So you're forced to disconnect. And that was the cool part that I loved about being on the sea. And at the same time, like for me, it was like a lot of my customers were Aussie. So I was on a boat with Aussies and, we're just having a great time together. And it just felt like a natural extension of having a great time in Phuket. And I got to show them things that I loved. And, it was just great mateship, it was great mateship. But, things started to get to a point where I needed to manage that risk. I could tell you some of the headaches I've had with boats. I've had boats catch fire. I've had engines blow up. I've had them run out of fuel. I've had captains get arrested on an island because maybe they're not a captain, but I didn't know.
They didn't have the proper license.
Yeah. So you're sitting there on a private boat and your captain's going to jail and you're like,
how am I getting you home?
The police are pointing to you going, you could drive it home. I'm like, I don't have a license. What do you mean I could drive it home? So I was like, I really got to get in and fix some of these problems. And that's when I think I took those early stages of the business just to rejuvenate, just to rebuild that passion for business again. And when I started thinking about this commercially and started thinking I got to manage some of these problems away, that's the business brain ticking back in saying I'm recharged. Yeah. Let's actually make a real business out of this. Let's stop playing. Let's make an investment. So, that's when we started buying boats. I bought my first boat.
So how many years after because at this point it's like a passion hobby.
It's a long time.
How many years were you?
I spent 8 years learning everything about this business.
About 8 years, kind of, passion hobby at this point.
Yeah.
Before turning it into a real business beyond the hobby side.
Yeah, like I would go on the boat, I'd meet the captain, I'd meet the engineer, but my passion was about giving the customers who would buy a great time, but also learning everything I could about the sea. Yeah. I knew nothing about a tide. I didn't know that in high tide you could go some places and low tide you couldn't go other places. I didn't know about a wind. I didn't know about watching a weather map. I didn't understand anything about how much fuel, but I was learning so much every day. And, I think a lot of the companies that I was hiring boats from had no concept that a foreigner would go on a boat and care how much fuel it used. It's like those were things that I loved. It's like because I had so many bad experiences of boat running out of fuel in the sea, it taught me to know how much fuel every boat needed on every engine type to go on every tour type. Because all I was trying to do was manage the problem that I could get to the boat in the morning with my customer and I'd go to the captain and I'm like, how much fuel on your boat this morning? He's like 300 liters. I'm like, we're doing PP. You need 330.
Yeah.
You're 30 liters short. And he's like, the boss gave me 300 liters. So we go with 300 liters. I'm like, but we're 30 liters short. And he's like, you have to change your program. we can go to PP, but we can't go to some of these stops because we need to save fuel.
You can't fuel up quick there, or is it complicated?
It's again, some private boat business owners don't care how much money you pay them for the boat. They care just about, how it's a different way of running their business.
Yeah.
I run my boats different. I run my boats full. So a fuel tank on my boat takes 450 liters.
Yep.
And then I run 2 spares. So every boat on the sea that 5-star puts out got a minimum of 510 liters on the boat. No other boat in Phuket does this.
Mm-hmm.
They give enough fuel to complete the tour exactly.
And is that, this podcast, we never want to talk, people need to understand, we're not talking bad about the Thais in any which way, because we live here, it's our home, but it's more the experience. So at any point of these podcasts, it's not whinging. It's actually like giving our experience on what's happening here. And the whole point of that little spiel there is this can be reflected, I find, like in the Thai mentality, where putting enough fuel in your tank, it's kind of how they live. Everything here, I find, it's very hand to mouth.
Yes.
Everything is hand to mouth.
And again, like if you're renting a private boat, it's quite possible. Like when you rent a private boat on a lease, I pay a 50% deposit the day before, and I pay 50% at end of tour. So it's quite possible that he didn't have the cash available to get 330 liters.
Exactly.
He had cash to get 300 liters. So that's as far as my deposit went. That's as much as fuel he put on the boat.
Yeah, and your deposit, and the rest is that's in his pocket.
Yeah. And again, like you've been here long enough. A lot of in my industry, especially, it's hand to mouth.
Yep.
In high season, they're living a great life, and in low season, they're struggling around to get fuel. They're really, really struggling. This is why when the C word hit here in Phuket, the marine industry was devastated within 2 months.
Yes.
It's people say, "Well, how can a business go broke so fast?" Well, I'm like, well, they're not a commercial business; it's a family business.
There's no tourists, and that's a good segue into this and into your charity. My assumption as well is that, let's say, by these piers, these are where the boats are, and these communities and these villages, they rely on the marine tourists, let's say, because probably in that village you have a guide, you have a captain, and you have engineers, and you have people that are maybe working food and restaurant. So if there's no tourists, how do those people work? Is this kind of, I'll just let you run with that and explain how that all came together.
It does. It's like every pier in Phuket is like its own little mini economy.
Yes.
Like you want to talk, say, Bungrong Pier. This is a local pier, okay? From this local pier, they run transfers to Yeo Yai, Yeo Noi, and this little pier, the whole town is built around this pier. And if they don't have their transfer boats going every day to Yeo Noi and Yeo Yai and back, and they're not buying fuel from the local petrol station, and the captain isn't there, and they're not buying food, and the whole economy falls over.
Even that little market there before you get on the Banrong Pier, there's a lady selling chips and pop.
Yeah, and all of that is reliant on the fact that this boat is going to take 30 tourists 6 times a day to Yeo Yai, Yeo Noi, back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. And once that stops, that whole economy is this. What else is there, man? Like you go Yamu. Okay, Yamu is very similar style of pier to Bangrong. Yamu is like the group tour pier, right? This is where a lot of the group tours go to. Once group tours stop, what does this pier do? Nothing. What does this community around this pier do? Nothing.
So what did you see? I mean, because obviously now this affected your business. When the current situation hit, was it almost like an off switch? Like, and I'm going to guess, so this would have been, probably the off switch would have happened around end of March even, maybe end of April.
Earlier.
Well, because China New Year, there were still people coming. Because I remember China New Year, I went to Koh Phi Phi and came back and it was packed. But right after Koh Phi Phi at the end of China New Year, that's when, because I had people working here and they had to get back into China or they couldn't get back in. People that were working with us. So I felt like around February is when I saw the switch.
So I say against my business. So particularly my business, March 17th, that's the day. That's when everything changed for us. But my competitors, and again in in the way I think about business, my competitors are not my competitors. You know, I work with my competitors.
Yes.
Back pre C word, pre this time, I had 2 boats, but I would often had 10, 20 bookings on a day. So I had to work with all of my competitors because I was spilling my business into their boats. And so when I was talking to my competitors, certainly the group tour market dried up January. So the peers started to, there's this guy in Boat Lagoon. He owns 20 boats.
Why did it dry up in January? Because there still was people, the situation wasn't going on too much then, no?
So rumors started to come around that time, right?
Okay. Gotcha.
And a lot of that group tour market comes from the Chinese market, and things started to change slowly over there.
Because they knew way before the world. Okay, I see your point. Okay, yeah.
So my direct example would be there's a guy, his named Chok. He's a local Thai. He owns a boat business in Boat Lagoon. He owns 20 boats, and December, 20 boats a day going out. Couldn't keep up with demand. I couldn't get any boats from him. January, he's calling me. I got 15 boats sitting at the pier. Anytime you need help, got discounted price. Happy to help you. Started to work with him in January with my overflow. February, I was 100% of his business. March, when my business shut down, his business shut down.
Yeah.
So that's where my basis of fact comes from. Not from looking at any kind of statistical figures, just on the ground, seeing what's happening in my industry. I think it started to hit January. March 17th, I remember it very clearly. I was on Rayleigh Beach, and everything was starting to close around me. And
what do you mean by that, close around you?
Just, limitations on where I could start to take my boats, cancellations around, this was when borders were starting to think about close. Limitations
as in like because the waters are policed.
Yes.
They weren't letting you go into certain areas that you could go before?
So it's like we were Phuket based.
Yeah.
And certainly I think in that early days, Phuket was a place that you were feared to come from.
Okay.
I say March 17th, the number in my mind is very clear because I took some expats to Satoon by boat so they could do a visa run.
Satoon, where is Satoon?
Satoon is
in the south,
on the Malaysian border, right?
Other people like my friend, I'm not as fluent in Thai. Let's say we would call it Satun, Satun, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Satun, Satun, same.
So I went from Phuket to Koh Lipe to Satoon to do a border run so that these expats could get a visa bounce. They came back across the border onto my boat. The next day, the border closed.
From Malaysia side.
Yeah. From Malaysian side.
Yeah, because I had a friend, he was working with us. Again, we're doing electronics manufacturing. It's another business. I wear too many damn hats, but he got stuck in Malaysia too. And his plan, he wanted to go Malaysia back into Thailand. But then Malaysia locked him in. Thailand closed the borders. And then, the Malaysian government said to all the expats, they only gave them 60 days. They're like, you have 60 days to get the hell out of our country if you don't have a visa. He ended up going to Nicaragua. So you've done this visa run.
Visa run's finished. On the boat, go back to Rayleigh to stay the night. And news is out, the Malaysian border's closed.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm sitting there going, we're going to close. For sure, Thailand's going to close. Probably going to go to at least provincial borders closing. Phuket's going to close. So I say to my customers, we've got to get back to Phuket. I got this feeling, nothing official, but I got a feeling that things are going to really tighten up and we should get back to Phuket to stay there. So get off the boat. That was the last customer on that boat.
This is at Satoon, and just so people can understand, if you were to drive a car from Phuket to Satoon, I'm talking 9 hours?
Yeah, 9 hours.
About 9 hours.
Yeah.
And on a boat, because now you're ripping across the bay.
3 hours, 3.5 hours.
Oh, it's only 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Is it an enjoyable ride though? Because you must be ripping it. I mean,
so in a good sea, it's an enjoyable ride. So that was the first time, that visa run was the first time I ever took a boat to Koh Lipe. From Phuket to Koh Lipe is 4.5 hours, and Koh Lipe is life changing.
Oh, on the boat.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's okay. But you're going full tail.
Yeah. You're going full tail. And that's a life-changing place. I love Koh
Yeah,
Lipe.
I've been 2-3 years ago. It's gorgeous.
And so during the last 12 months, I think I've been to Koh Lipe 40 or 50 times.
And
Because we
how long?
adapted products
How many months?
in the last 12 months.
I was wondering. Nando kept saying, he's like, yeah, we're doing a run. We're going to Koh Lipe. I'm like, isn't that like 12 hours away? So I didn't realize that you can get there on a boat in about 4.5 hours. How much gas is that using?
Return trip 1,200 liters.
And what's the cost behind? So
you spend about 40,000 baht.
40. Yeah, I was gonna say it. Yeah. It's not cheap to rip down there.
No, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. So, that was a new kind of product experience for us that we created to survive COVID. So, moving, we're sitting on the beach in Rayleigh, seeing things closing, go back, pretty much the next day, all our bookings canceled.
Yeah.
So we were, and that is a mass event when you get 12 months worth of bookings all cancel at one time. So back then we were taking 50% deposits. Because we were so busy, we had to guarantee that you're going to turn up to the pier, and you guarantee that you're going to turn up on the boat, because if not, next person in line. And so, we get back to the pier, everyone's canceling. We come out with a company policy that we're going to refund everything. It's like, if you don't cancel, we're going to cancel you. Because we didn't want to hold their money on our books.
Yeah, you don't want to burn your brand either.
Yeah. So we just went out and mass refunded, mass canceled everybody. They're like, well, why don't you issue, vouchers and stuff? I'm like, I'm not going to go down this path, because who knows how long this is going to be. Let's just, if you want to hold your booking, I'm still going to give you your money back.
Yeah.
So we pushed out all these cancellations, pushed back all the money to people, then sat there and looked at how long potentially is this going to impact our business. And then the next thought is, how long is this going to impact our staff, and then our staff's family? Because we know our staff very well. We know, our guide. He's the only working guy in his family, so he provides for his entire family. So now he's not working.
Mm-hmm.
His whole entire family, what are they going to do? Our captain has got, a wife and 2 kids. His wife stays at home because he's a captain and he works 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. She has to stay at home.
And this realization was quite quick, like around March 17th, or how long did it take to kick in when you realized shit's hit the fan?
In the days after that.
Days after.
Yeah, it's not weeks, it's days,
Yeah.
Because, we went from that to lockdown pretty fast, So
I think we went, lockdown?
April.
We did district lockdown, right?
Yes.
So where were you stuck? You were stuck in the Laguna area?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was up, I forgot, north of Blue Tree. I was actually at a friend's house up there.
So you're in Sri Santun area.
That's the area.
Yeah. That's an okay area to be locked down.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. No problem.
So, we I think, maybe even 1 week I was back from holiday, and this leads to the charity work. People always ask me, when was the first life bag that you gave? When was the first time that you dipped into personal funds and provided
even
food?
before that life bag, like the idea, how did that come about?
Well, that's where it all comes to. Is like I said to my wife, how are our staff going to survive? Like we kept them on salary, right? But in our industry, you get paid. Staff get paid 3 levels. Level 1 is a base salary. Level 2, they get paid a daily rate. Every day the boat goes out, they get paid again. Level 3 is they get tips.
Yeah.
So once we take away daily rate and tips, they're back to about half of what they would be earning in a normal season, right? So, okay, they're lucky they're getting paid salary, because nearly everybody in my industry stopped. They've just fired everybody. We kept everybody on salary, but we knew that without daily rates and without tips that they were really going to struggle. So we said, okay, let's go buy them all rice. Let's go buy them all noodles. Let's go buy them all tinned fish. Let's go buy them everything that we think they're going to need for the next month, and buy it in a big supply. So it wasn't a life bag, but it was a big supply where it's like, you don't need to worry about food. Use your salary to pay your rent. Use your salary to pay the kids' school. Food's taken care of for the next month.
And buying kind of at that macro wholesale level, so it's a bit cheaper.
It is.
Yeah.
And again, it's not great food that they're getting. It's just something to allow them to survive.
Yeah.
And so, the concept of life bags, we didn't call it a life bag back then. It was just, hey guys, we're worried about you. We're worried about your families. Here's the company giving you something to help you through for this month.
Yep.
Because we couldn't predict how long this was going to go on for, and back then you were just thinking about a month ahead. So we gave them enough for a month, and then started to happen. We went to sub-district lockdown, and some of our staff started reaching out. They're like, we appreciate what you did to help us, but some people in our village, they need some help. Can you help? And when you're sitting in a villa and you've got a pool and your own boats and you've had a good year and you're sitting there going, how can I say no?
Yeah.
So in sub-district lockdown, we started to buy supplies. So we weren't packing life bags back then. What we would do, we'd go to Macro and we'd buy 1,000 kilos of rice. We'd buy, the elements of what a life bag was, but we'd buy it all in mass supply.
And not putting it together.
We didn't put it together. We'd just take it, we'd deliver it to a village. Yeah. And then, to do that in that time, hard border lockdown, we would have to get someone from the government to come with us to go buy it. And then they'd have to come with us to the district that we were going to, to the village that we're going to help, because we needed district pastors. We had to pass checkpoints.
Yeah, but somebody was helping you get through.
Yeah. So we had government friends who were helping us get through all these checkpoints to get it to the village. And I don't know if Nando talked about it when he was on the podcast, but, this is when Sutai started to help as well, because I reached out to Nando and say, hey, this is what we're doing. I think it would be good for Sutai to help the Surin area, you guys should reach out and help around you. And
why did you decide to reach out to Nando? Was it because you knew that he had the ability to help, or?
I don't think it was about the financial ability. I just knew that was who he was. It was like anyone who spends time with Nando knows he's like a pure heart. He's that guy that if you need something, he's the first guy to call.
Yeah.
And at this time, we were getting a little bit bored, and I'm like, hey, Nando, what about I buy the supply and you drive to the border and I'll put it on your truck, and then you go and give it out in that Surin area, because he had access.
Yeah.
Right. And you go give it out in the Surin area. So we had like these sub-district border parties.
Yeah. Were you meeting at the Bang Tao one?
We were meeting,
The back road Bang Tao.
Yeah. And so I would drive my truck up, he'd drive his truck up, we'd swap the supplies, and we'd take the time where the government would allow us, we'd hop in the same car, spend 10, 15 minutes catching up with each other, Hunter, I know Hunter really well. He's a good kid, and he knows my boy, and so they'd all just play a little bit in the car, and that was we call them sub-district parties. We'd have lockdown parties in our car for 10 minutes. And
what was the reaction of you want to call them the guards there? Were they're open with that?
They were okay, because we were passing through the sub-districts pretty often to give supplies, and they started to know who we were. But also, as a way of making it nice and smooth, we would make sure that those guards also had access to some of the stuff that we're giving out.
And they would bring it to their villages, or?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so this first village that you went to, again, you were saying it's like
Lemsai.
the village.
Lemsai is the village. Yeah, okay. Lemsai is a village.
Is that near Aopo?
Yes, very near Aopo. This is a guide village. Pretty much everybody in this village is either a guide that works on a boat or a cleaner that works in the airport.
Okay.
And COVID hits, lockdown comes, nothing, they can't go on a boat, they can't go to an airport. So we went and helped this village first. And then it just started to naturally grow, because when we would go to help a village, we would work with what we call a village chief.
Yep.
So the head man of the village, we would work with him and some of the elders.
What is the Thai word? Do you know that?
Phuket Baans.
Phuket Baans.
Yeah.
That's like chief of the village.
Correct.
And this actually interests me. So it's, I was always wondering, like, what is the political hierarchy for a Phuket Baans? Are they above like the politicians in Phuket, or do they have a certain level of power within that village? How does that all work?
Oh, so now we're having like a totally different conversation to what we started with.
Yeah.
Because now you're talking about how do we actually even operate our donation program.
I was interested in that part of like, how do you operate? Do you just show up at the village with food to give out? Do you have to talk to certain people? How does that process work?
So for us, we always work with the village chiefs. Why? Because we wanted to give in a non-political way. So I don't know, election cycles here. Every time someone wants to go, say, for mayor, orbitor position, they go out and they start donating stuff to people to help, and they start helping the community, and they're doing it for a political purpose. They're not doing it because they want to really help the people. They're doing it because they want to get their name out there.
Yeah.
We made a decision straight away to never work with the head of the orbitors. We wanted to work with the Pua Baans. Why? They're elected on 60-year cycles.
Okay.
They have
there's no motivation.
There's no political motivation to go and hand out a life bag or go and hand out a supply or go and help their community. And honestly, a Pua Baan, for them to be elected to that area, they have to live in it. So, a Pua Baan might be for a whole moo, so they know the families in that moo better than anybody else.
Moo meaning it's not street. Is it street?
It's a long street, or
because it's not soy. Soy is road.
Yeah, because like a soy comes off a moo.
Yeah,
and a Pua Baan might have a moo that's got 12 soys on it.
Gotcha.
So he's in charge of that.
He's in charge of that moo.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's ideally, if a village has got a problem, they're going to go to the Pua Baan, and then if the Pua Baan can't fix it, then he's going to go to the orbitor, and if the orbitor can't fix it, then they're going to go to the district. If the district can't fix it, then they're going to go to Phuket Town, to the province, right?
Okay.
That's the hierarchy of basic government here.
Okay.
And we just wanted to work in a non-political way, and I also wanted to do it under the radar. I didn't want to go and give, for the first, I think, 9 months that Nando and I were doing life bags, the only people that knew that Nando and I were doing life bags was in the foreign community was Nando and I.
Yeah.
We didn't tell anyone, we didn't promote it, we didn't social media it, we just did it.
Weren't looking for investors, charity funds, nothing, just doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, we just did it. And we wanted to do it in the least resistance model possible. So I used my Thai staff to work with the Thai Pua Baans. And when the life bags were going into the community, it was given by my Thai team. I had this whole concept that I had the easy job. I just paid the bill.
You didn't show your face.
No, I didn't want to. I wanted this to be a Thai helping Thai thing. And I've been here in Phuket long enough that I don't have a Thai citizenship, but I consider myself Thai. I have Thai wife. My son is mixed. I think I run my life very Thai way. I don't think I could ever go back to a Western world.
No.
I don't own pants. I don't own shoes. No, I don't own shoes.
No.
Bare feet or sandals only. So, we ran through the Pua Baans, and once we gave to one Pua Baan, they would maybe talk to another one, who was a friend of theirs, and say, hey, you guys are in need. Here's Shaun's team's number. And they wouldn't even say Shaun's team, they would just talk, my Thai staff's name, and they would just give the name of my Thai staff. And we just built this network across the island of Pua Baans. I actually think in our donation program, there's a lady, her name's Kunzira, and she works with all the Pua Baans. I think she knows more Pua Baans on this island than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And they know her more than anybody else. And she was the one that they would call. It's like, Kunzira, can your boss help our village? They need help. And so she would how many people in need? How long have they been in need for? And during these COVID times, we'd have to set up in a way where we could give out, where we weren't building mass gatherings of people, and we had masks on, and we had hand sanitizers, and we had public health workers. And so all of that came from our connections with the Pua Baans.
And how many would you say, I'm assuming Zera?
Yeah.
How many Pua Baans has she been in contact with, or in general, how many are there on the island?
You're asking me to give a number that I'm not truly aware is correct. So I read a number, and it said 148 Pua
148.
Baans. That's the number I read. I don't know if it's true or not.
100. So to allow us to understand, because let's say that, and actually we were talking about this with Nando. So let's say we took the Bang Tao area here, where it's more by the mosque.
Yes.
How many Pua Baans would be in that area? Would there be 4? Because there's 4 moos?
At least 4.
At least 4.
Because Bang Tao has a high population
A
as
lot
well.
Of people, yeah.
I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
So no, full disclosure, my wife, her her uncle is the Pua Baan of Move 4 here.
Okay.
Another of her uncle is the head of the Orbitor here.
Yep.
So some of our way of working with the government was made easy because
Because of the connection.
of the connections we had, and like if we knew an area that was in need, so like we had a network of people feeding back to us, saying not just Pua Baans but also like THAIS who would just say, hey, my staff would say, hey, the Rawai Gypsy village, they're struggling, you need to help them out, and maybe that Pua Baan didn't know about us, so we'd have to go and talk to, say, my wife's uncle and say, can you find out the phone number and introduce us to the Pua Baan down there?
Down by the fishing villages.
Yeah,
of because they were probably relying not only on the fishing, but also those boat tours to that island.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got hit really hard, really fast.
Yeah.
And that was one of the areas that we went in to help. And then, say maybe the recycling village in Phuket town, like we needed to just not let it organically grow where people found out about us. We had to push it, so we could get them to get out to help the people who really needed it. And that was the thing, is like in that first 9 months, every single life bag that went out, 5-star paid for. Mm-hmm. And I personally wanted to know that where it was going was the highest need area in Phuket on that week.
Yeah, because you could not meet the needs of everybody. That's impossible.
Right now they say, official provincial Phuket numbers is 48,000 in need of immediate food assistance as of today.
Oh,
I can't feed 48,000 people.
No, and this concept of okay, let's talk about that. You have the food bag, and then you have the meals. So in a food bag, how many meals are there?
4 to 5 for a family of 4.
Gotcha.
And again, when you look at the bag, not a great meal.
What are we getting in this meal?
Let's talk about what's in a bag first.
Okay.
So a bag, we're going to say about 1.3 kilograms of rice, 3 tins of mackerel, 5 packs of we call them 2-minute noodles maybe, but here in Thailand they call them mama noodles.
Okay.
A cooking oil, then a flavoring oil. So maybe like a meji or like a soy sauce or a black sauce or a fish sauce, something to give flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, eggs. So we did give a packet of eggs.
That must be difficult to transport. Eggs are so sensitive. You must have broke tons. Yeah.
That was Nando's job. So, to save money, to make our money go as far as we could, we wouldn't buy a 1 kilogram bag of rice, right? We found out that the cheapest brand of rice was available to be bought from Macro in a 5 kilogram bag, not a 50 kilogram bag. I can do the numbers.
Yep.
A 5 kilogram bag. So we would get that and we would pack that down to a 1 point. So we'd open the bag, we'd repack it into a new bag down to a 1.3 kilogram bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd buy a pack of 30 eggs, and Nando would get a handsaw and cut these eggs down to packs of 10.
Yep.
And then we'd have to lacquer band them up and then tie them so that they wouldn't break. And this was Nando's job every day of the week.
That's got to be the hardest job there.
Yeah, because people are like, why don't you just buy it pre-packed? I'm like, because every single extra baht that I spend on that pre-packaging
could go to more people.
Could go to more people. So the concept was,
it's not about saving. It's about your time. You have a certain amount of time.
I was like this. Is like, I'm willing to invest as much time as possible so that my dollar can go further.
Yes.
It's like, at this time, my business was not running. Nando's business wasn't running. So all my staff, all his staff, they had nothing to do. So if they sat there for 12 hours to cut eggs, well, it's better than sitting there for 12 hours sleeping, right?
Yeah.
That's how we saw it, right? And at the end of the day, we used manpower to reduce cost. And we were always just trying to maximize what we could purchase.
And are you able to share with us on that? Like, what is typically a bag? What is your cost behind it?
About between 140 and 160 Thai baht a bag.
100. Okay.
Yeah. So now we've removed eggs out because that was just when we turned into dry season, we were having issues with storage of eggs.
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't pack them fast enough and get them out into the community fast enough. They started to cook. So now we don't put eggs in our bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's like we don't put eggs in our bag because of this reason. People are like, "Are you trying to save money?" It's like, no, we're not trying to save money. The reality is that we were just losing too much supply, so we had to sub it out, and now we rotate something else in instead.
Okay.
So what it is changes week to week, depending on what's on special on macro, and what we can get bulk supply of. So when you pack as much as we do right now, macro runs out. So I packed last weekend. We packed 2,000 life bags, and I bought Phuket out of oil supply. There was
At the macro.
At macro.
And when you're delivering those bags, I mean, I'm assuming the same family sometimes might get 2 bags in a month or 3 bags in a month, but would you not be supplying them with too much oil on the balance? Do you know what I mean?
So in an ideal world, we would help every family a couple of times a month, but that's not my world. Maybe every second month I can help the same family.
How many, so you're saying currently every day 48,000 people are in need of food on Phuket. How many bags are you getting out per month? Or meals?
So let's talk bags. Bags can be anywhere between 10 and 15,000 bags.
Okay.
So we don't scratch the need, right?
Yeah.
Because if a bag lasts 4 days, 5 days, maybe they can stretch it to 6.
Yeah.
Maybe I get back to them next month, But it's really difficult to say it cleanly so that you can understand. Like I don't say this so you feel bad for the people that we're trying to help, but it's the reality of the situation.
Yeah,
it's like all we can do is help them stand up for a few days and hope that gives them the ability to go and find some other way to help themselves for the rest of the month. Yeah,
because there's really no other options for them at this point until tourists are back. There's not like what else can you unless you go fishing. I mean, that's pretty much it.
And that was when we first started to help and we were helping around these pier areas and stuff, we would say to the people we're giving the bags to, it's like, you have the basics now, so spend your days fishing. Spend your days getting, I remember one of my staff, he's a tour guide, and he used to send me photos every day of the shells that he would go out and he would pick. And it's like, today's a bad day for my family. I've got 3 shells. He's feeding a family of 5 on 3 shells. And so I'm sitting here at home, like in my villa, feeding my kids an okay meal. And I'm sitting there going, this guy's feeding his family on 3 shells. I can't deal with that. No, it doesn't rub well with me. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't rub well with someone like Nando either. And that's why he's like the best partner in the world to having a program like this, because he has the same philosophy as me. It's like we can't be having an okay or a good life and then be seeing someone down the road and we know their situation. It's close your eyes to it. No. So, I think I said this on a interview not long ago. If I was donating my money to charity and I wasn't seeing the people that I was helping, I wouldn't have helped for so long.
Yeah, I believe in that. I don't particularly believe in just donating money to charities, to, let's say, international organizations, because it actually goes in the pocket of people to run that. Now, that's not a bad thing. When you have charities that large, that makes sense. But for me, when I donate, I don't donate to charities. What I do, it's pretty strange. If I see people on the street, like there's a guy out on my street, I'll give him 1,000 baht every other week. I'll see a lady down the road. She's selling cucumbers. I'll buy the cucumbers off her or the pineapples, and I don't even need it. I'll take it home or I'll give it to the other guy that I just saw. Because what I believe in is giving back to people in your surrounding area, because you want to improve that area around you. You don't want, and I also, I don't talk about this at all, because I also don't believe in, and you did the same flashing about it either, but at least trying to make awareness so other people can do it. And what's very simple, people don't understand. There's a guy on the street here that picks up plastic bottles. That's how he makes his money. 100 baht to that guy is more than you can understand to him. Like, and if I give him 100 or 1,000 or 500, every few days here or there, it means the world to him. It gets him another meal, but it doesn't break the bank either. So this is kind of what I do.
I would say you and my wife get along well, because quite often we'll go to a shop and I'm like, do you need that? She's like, no, but they haven't made a sale today.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I bought it. I feel sorry for them. I'm like, I totally understand that. I get that. And I think for us, when we went from doing it privately to doing it publicly, there was a big change. When we were doing it privately, and it was just Nando and me and Amy and my wife and my family and my staff and Nando's staff, is very, very different to how we do it now. Because when I do it now, and we love how we do it now, but when we do it so publicly now, and we have so many hands involved in it now, it's so much more complicated than it was when we did it privately. It was like, when we did it privately, I'd message Nando and say, hey, tomorrow we're going to pack life bags. And he's like, okay. And that was it. And we'd turn up and we'd pack life bags. And if it took us 12 hours, it took us, sometimes we're packing 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, And then it's like, so Nando, tomorrow we're going to deliver life bags. And he's like, okay, I got a class at 8. So what can we do? I'm like, all right, 6 o'clock. We'll pack the truck. And then when you finish your class, we'll go deliver life bags, with our team. And he's like, okay, let's do it like that. And it's like, it was so easy because it was just him and I working around our own personal schedules. And then when it started doing it publicly, now we're having to work around, hundreds of people's schedules and hundreds of people who've got different ideas about how we do things.
And you're doing it now all at Sutai?
Yeah, at Sutai.
And how many, when you're doing a packing, are you doing it once a week, twice a week?
So we do one volunteer pack a week.
Okay.
And then everything else that we need is packed in our old model of we pack it privately.
Okay.
So it might be Nando's team packing it, might be my team packing it, or it might be just a couple of really good volunteers that we have that come to one of our houses and pack it there. So, for example, last Saturday at Sutai, we packed 2,000 bags. Before that, we packed 5,000 bags. Before that, we packed 2,000 bags. And that's like a community vibe. That's a community pack.
And you're packing there for what, 5-6 hours? I mean, I've drove by numerous times and I've seen Nando packing there. And
yeah, so I think depends on the number. If you're packing 5,000 bags, we pack that across 2 days, 2 full days. If you're packing 1,000 bags with enough volunteers, we can do it in about 2.5 hours. It all comes down to how many volunteers turn up on the day.
yeah.
But our very first volunteer pack, so that's when we invited other people to come help us pack. That was 1,000 bag pack, and that was in December last year at Sutai. All from when we started handing out life bags up until December, it was all packed. I have a house. We emptied it all out and we packed it in a house.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even have aircon or anything. It was just pack away, pack away. And now we're at Sutai and we have all these volunteers. It allows us to pack at a scale that what used to take us 3, 4, 5 days to pack, now we can pack it in hours. And that's amazing to see. But what's probably more amazing is just the people we've met through it. The expats that we've met. That's just amazing. It's like someone asked me, like, what would you be most proud of post this? And I'm like, the community.
The community that's getting involved.
The community that's getting involved, not just the expat community, but the Thai community.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned from this? If someone wanted to start their own charity, or maybe some advice that you would give anyone out there, because if this is on YouTube and probably by the end of this podcast we have millions of views and all these people in other countries. It could be Brazil, it could be South America, it could be the Philippines. If there's other foreigner expats out there living in these communities, what advice would you get them to get something like this started?
I think start with your own money. If you're going to make mistakes, make it on your own dime and be accountable to no one but yourself. Once you've worked out a system and a process and you've maximized budget and you've worked out exactly how to do it, then okay, you can start asking other people to help. But don't help with other people's money because the stress is too high. Mm-hmm. The mistakes we made when we were cooking eggs and we were breaking eggs is like, okay, if I had to go and tell a donor that we lost 100 eggs today because Nando,
yeah, it can happen. You're sawing through them and
slips, or something happened. Like if you have to go and tell that to a donor, like that's not a good news story. But that's my 100 eggs, so I just go buy another 100. That's okay. It's no problem. That problem is easily fixed, and we don't have any ill will towards this. And when you're working like we were working, it's hard work. It's long work. You make mistakes. You have errors. And you have problems. When some communities that we would go into, we'd have problems that we had to clear once we got into the community. Like,
What do you mean by that?
if you were going to go into a community where the Phuket Baan maybe wasn't 100% liked,
By the community.
If you don't know that and you go into that community, maybe you won't be so well received. So this is why sometimes it's
By the community or the Phuket Baan?
by the community.
Okay.
Because maybe the Phuket Baan hasn't been as responsive as you'd like. And I know an example during our giving where we were giving and we were working with a Phuket Baan, and it turned out that the community didn't like him and he got kicked out. And there's a new Phuket Baan in that area now, and it's easy to work in that community now because the community liked the Phuket Baan. But we always used to wonder, why is it so difficult working in here? Why is it hard to get to the people in need? Why is it like...
What do you mean by that hard? As in, like, you can't get the cars in, you're getting blocked, you can't get the food out?
It is more like the easiest way to distribute fast is to centralize distribution. So if we can say, all right, we're going to be at this spot within the community at this time, everyone come, join a line, we give out, it's 15 minutes, it's done, right? Yep. Optimally, that's the best way to do it. Like from a commercial trying to run your
like
charity.
Creating a central distribution in the community.
Yeah. But some communities you'd go and you're like,
where do I set up?
Where are all these people, that are in need? Like, we know you're in need, but you're not coming out. And it's like, they don't want to come out and show the Phuket Baan that they're supporting him. So we would have to go to the house by house by house by house by house, 300 houses. Not so easy. And if you're doing that, the Phuket Baan wants to come with you and he's not liked.
To show his face that he's
Now you understand my story.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're going to get this like, it's politics. There's a little bit of red tape involved, even at that, not nomadic lifestyle, but a simple lifestyle. That's interesting. What I was really interested to digging into was when you went out to these remote islands, when did that start? When did you decide to make that decision to move forward on that?
So here's something that you would I don't think I've ever said it anywhere before, but I was looking at my staff and seeing that they were missing the sea and seeing my boats parked at a pier. And I just said to my wife, I'm like, we should contact some of the village chiefs for the outerlying islands because A, we can help the village, but B, my boys can get back on a boat, and that element of what they're missing in their life, like, okay, they're getting paid and they're working and they're packing life bags. But if you really understand your staff, you know what makes them tick. And for my captains to not go on a boat for a few months, it's a big problem for them, like that starts to create problems at home for them because they're not happy, But so I said to my wife, I said, let's pair this together where we're going to help not just Phuket, we're going to help the outer lane islands, but also in the same boat, I'm going to help my staff because they're actually going to start getting back on the sea and they're going to start enjoying life again. So when we would go out to these islands and deliver these life bags, we would tell the crew afterwards, let's go to Kai Island and go for a swim. Let's go to Phi Phi and see what it looks like. Let's go to have lunch at that normal restaurant that we would go to, that one that you like, because we wanted to introduce some level of normality back into, creating a stability for them. So the honest answer to your question, and I'd like to be as honest as possible, is the driving factor was we just wanted to get our guys back to sea. And we knew that there was equal need on the island as there was on Phuket. Yep. So we weren't not servicing the need. We were just combining two goals together. And that it really actually we would see a spike in the mental health of our staff when they were out on the sea delivering life bags because they were back doing what they loved. And from a company point of view, it was good for us as well because we would turn our engines over, we'd run fuel through the boats.
Yeah, because the fuel, I mean, this is going to be more expensive than the food itself.
Yeah. Look, it is. In some cases, the cost of putting the boat out exceeds what I'm giving in terms of the life bags.
Yeah.
But on a commercial reality point of view, if I don't run that engine, it's going to cost me a lot more than if I do run it. So
you know, keep it going.
I had a friend who put a boat back in. So when we say a boat back in, so when we close our businesses, we take our boats up, we put them on land, and we just leave them. So when you put it back in, there's a cost, not just like the physical cost of putting the boat in, but it's been on land. So I had a friend, he had his boat on land 9 months, and he put it back in the water. Cost him $500,000 baht worth of maintenance costs to get that boat back up and running, right? And I'm thinking, have I spent $500,000 baht running fuel through my boats, paying my crew to go check it, putting it out to sea when maybe it wasn't worth putting it out to sea because I'm losing money? I'm like, I haven't spent $500,000 baht doing that, you know? So I made a better decision to keep my boat in the water and just pay my crew to take it out every now and then. And so maybe one day, you know, we'd even run boats out just to let the crew go and fish.
And how many boats do you have in your company?
Right now we're at 12 boats.
12 boats. So I was just interested in that. So how many times did you end up running out to sea doing these remote island deliveries?
So again, it wasn't a huge number because we were trying to rotate through need. So maybe we'd do an island delivery once a month.
Okay.
And, you know, if you see our island deliveries, so for example, we go to Koh Yao Yai, 2,000 bags. Possibly 2,000 bags could fit on one boat, but I would use my whole fleet to take them out. So everyone, because you have to think about it, like if I'm going to put a boat out, my captain's going to get his daily rate. Okay, so that's good for him. The fuel guy I'm buying fuel from is going to get fuel for the day. The guy I buy my ice from is getting the ice for the day. The guy I buy my soft drink, my water, my fruit, the guy that we buy lunch from for our crew. So I was seeing it as more like I'm trying to stimulate economic impact around my peer as well.
And you're giving some normalcy back into everyone's lives and many people's lives as well that are involved in that.
Correct. And so, you know, we were using it as a way to try and keep afloat some of those businesses that we relied on to run our business. You know, like that fuel guy could make a sale of fuel to 12 boats one day a month. Okay, it's nothing like what it was beforehand, but at least he's turning his fuel over, right? Like, so that's how I don't know, maybe I have a wrong thinking about this, but I was trying to create a normalcy, and also not just for my crew, but also for us as well as a company. It's like, if we forget how to run boats, you know, if we forget like the process of checking our engines, checking our systems, if we forget this process, then the restart cost of the business is going to be high, and maybe we're going to affect our brand.
And you're growing those relationships with your suppliers, your vendors, your partners, because once stuff gets, you know, up and running again, they'll remember who helped them during that time as well.
Yeah, and look, I think it was also the other thing, like, you know, as a company, we started like when we shut down and we weren't getting a lot of business, we started to do crew days where we'd go play football together, but it's not the same as being on the sea. You know, like when our crew are on the sea and there's 12 boats and they're all talking to each other, relaying back, oh, the wave is big here, the wave's not big here, there's customers here, there's no one here, the sea is good here, I saw a dolphin. Yeah. You know, like this is a good feeling. You know, this is like, you know, as a business owner, I love to see it's like music. You know, if you're a musician and you really nail a song, you know, it's a great feeling. For us, it's like as a company, if we've got like 12 awesome tours going on, they're seeing dolphins, they're seeing whale sharks, they're snorkeling, they're fishing. You know, it's like this is our version of nailing a song, and so we could get that feeling once a month that we're nailing a song. You know, like we've got 12 boats out, they're all coordinated, nothing's breaking down, the life bags are going, we're coordinating with the piers, you know, because we're going to Yao Yai, so 12 boats, we need like 20 trucks there to pick up the life bags, we're coordinating with everyone on that island. It's like we're starting to inject into our company.
Yeah, you're bringing this energy back into their lives as well. And then even if you're doing it once a month, I mean, they can look forward to that next month instead of the unknown of when do we get back out to sea, and you bring that normalcy back into their life as well.
Yeah, and again, maybe I'm wrong. I also have this concept in my business. I say to my staff, it's like boats on the water breed boats on the water.
What do you mean by that? Boats on the water breed. Oh, just more will come as you go.
Yes, yeah, if people can see that 5-star Marines out on the sea, and maybe they just see that from the fact that we put up a social media post saying, hey, today we were out and, we're full of life bags, but hey, we're on the sea and look, the sea's flat. Maybe someone's going to see that, and then it's more likely that they want to come out on the sea.
Mm-hmm.
So how did we, part of us restarting our business was going out and giving out life bags because people could see, a 5-star Marine can go on the sea.
Yeah, you're bringing some life also to the people on shore that had those boat companies, and maybe giving them some hope as well.
Yeah,
that something's coming back. Do you see with the Phuket Sandbox? Well, I guess it's officially started July 1st. Do you see things coming back into Phuket anytime soon? I don't either. I mean, I think the only hope is, that's kind of a loaded question.
This is the economically worst period of time that I've ever seen
in Phuket.
Maybe
in the world.
Since April, I was looking at I was trying to work out the other day, like what's going on, why are things so bad? And I got onto the list of arriving flights that were scheduled for Phuket for the day. I think it was 2 days ago. And it said 39 scheduled flights, 11 flights that actually completed.
Mm.
So I'm like, that's a great example of what's going on here. Okay, let's celebrate the 2 international flights that came. Okay, that's great because that's a start. But let's not forget the 20-odd domestic flights that didn't come, and that's actually economically worse than the impact of these 2 arriving flights.
Yeah.
I think there was a report I read the other day that said for the first quarter of this year, we're 80% down on the first quarter of last year.
Wow!
And the first quarter of last year was during the C word time.
It's not. No, it's not looking good. I think the only the next chance I think will be that the China National Week in October. They really, something has to happen then. If nothing happens then, it's a far stretch to even Chinese New Year.
Yeah, look, I think Phuket had to start. So the Sandbox is a great thing because it's a start. It's a way to get us moving forward. And hey, great to start it in wet season.
Yep.
Because all the mistakes that are going to get made now before we get to dry season. What am I hopeful of? I'm hopeful of the lowest low season during dry season. If I can get the lowest low season during dry season, that's a good start. Because I'm not expecting this to change very fast. But again, like a lot of companies that did shut down and restart, they need this time to rebuild, to train, to. If we went from closed to open and everything's full,
it'd be a mess. Nothing would work.
Nothing would work.
Yeah.
No one's ready for that.
And then people wouldn't want to come back. But I also think like people will have to be understanding, no matter where you travel in the world. If you're going to Mexico or you're going to the Philippines or Phuket, I think as you're traveling and you're those first travelers and you're those pioneers, I think your expectations are going to be low, and understanding that shit might not work.
Yeah, look, I hope it looks that way, and I hope that all these great 5-star resorts that have 5-star ratings don't get some bad ratings because they're reopening. Like I see stuff online right now where they're saying, "Oh, like I'm the only person in my hotel." I'm like, yeah, but just so you know, you might be the only person in that hotel for the last 14 months. Like they're happy to have you, and like you might feel like it's empty, but like for them that's full. Like for 14 months they've been closed. This is a sign of life. This is hope. And that's the number one thing I think is the Sandbox can give, is that it gives a sign of life and it gives hope. People can see that, okay, it's not better today, and maybe it's not better next month, and maybe it's not even better this year, but we're not getting worse. Maybe like the worst was maybe now.
Yeah.
Maybe we're let's hope that rock bottom is now, because I don't think Phuket can afford to slip much lower than it is right now. But if rock bottom is now and every day can get better from now, then I think that's a positive move.
And do you see things getting better? I mean, from the Sandbox opening, I still find it's kind of no different than it was last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so you asked me I think I can answer that from two things. As a business owner, no, it's worse. Sandbox has made it really, really difficult for us as a business to get clients onto boats. And a lot of the Sandbox clients don't even know the rules that they have to operate under in Phuket. So we're having to educate them of the rules. And so right now I think we're in a month of going backwards. So that's the answer from a business point of view. Now the answer from a charity work point of view, never seen such devastation on the island. And
probably even worse than the tsunami times. Because at least they could recover. They had the opportunity to recover. Now there's still nothing to recover
from.
Well,
let's understand. Like I wasn't here for the tsunami, so I take this from what the people tell me. And from my wife was here, her family was here, the people we helped, a lot of them were here, and they say to us, the tsunami was less devastating because all the focus in the world was on let's go help Phuket and Indonesia and Thailand and Indonesia rebuild. So all the big charities were coming in to help. All the foreigners were flying in to help, and they were all understanding. But this situation we're in now, this situation we're in now is everybody's in the same situation. Yeah. So no one's like has got a single focus on let's help Phuket. No, it's like let's help ourselves. Like we're all dying, we're all struggling. That family in Phuket. Well, we're not much better here. That's what I hear a lot of. I get a lot of. Love what you do, would love to help, but just economically not in a situation where I can help you keep going, and I totally understand that, like anyone who messaged me and says, hey, Shaun, how do we help? I'm like, honestly, help yourself first. Secondly, book a flight when you can. Until then, we'll do what we can.
So based on that, you did get some help, and I'm sure One Phuket, you probably want us to call you out on this one. You did get some help from One Phuket. They came in about how long ago?
I think around December or January, there was a meeting that was held, and this is like a watershed moment. There was a meeting held of all the major charitable organizations on the island. We all came together for a meeting and said, under a lady, her name is Andrea, she's probably the one that started all of One Phuket. She brought us all together, put us all in a room and said, how about you work together? How about you find a way that all of you can help the island as a united focus? And part of that idea was, okay, let's keep feeding people through life bags, and Shaun, 5-Star and Sutai know how to do that. So let them keep doing that, and let's try and help raise some funds, get some businesses involved to help do that. So, we had some hotels come on board. We had some private donors come on board. Expats were giving.
As in donating time and money, or both?
Both. Like a lot of the hotels, the Accor Group, for example, they made a donation, not a direct cash donation, but we helped them put an order into Macro under their company account, and they sent the supplies to us, and we packed them and got them out. The Pavilions Group did a similar kind of deal. Yep. Then Blue Tree got involved. So some of the bigger brands on Phuket realized that they needed to help. And the reason that I think they realized that they needed to help is that One Phuket started to put out this message that, hey, Shaun and 5-Star and Sutai, these local companies, not big international brands, have been doing this for a very, very, very long time. They've invested a lot of money. They kind of got a little bit shamed into helping. It's like, well, why are you not helping? Like step up, see what they're doing. And so, One Phuket has been great in that they're that communication arm of what we're doing.
The catalyst to kick it in the ass and also to help as well.
Yeah. And so that brought funds in, and that also brought awareness in, and I suppose I wouldn't be on the podcast if One Phuket went out there pushing that this is what we do, because you wouldn't have known that Nando and I do this.
I know because Nando was on the first one. Actually, it's what's funny is Nando was on the first one and you were on the 10th one. By no means was that planned as like timing wise. It just kind of happened. But no, and because I live right here, so I saw that happening, and I reached out to Nando, what's going on? And he kept it hush hush to himself, which I think that was probably your strategy then, trying to keep it under, like not getting too much exposure.
Look, what we found is each time that we got a little bit of exposure. So like, in that 9 months when we were doing it under the radar, some people found out what we were doing, but each time we got a little bit of exposure, there were some elements of what we were doing, like, I don't know if Nando brought it up, but like we had this plastic problem, right? We use a lot of plastic in our life bags. And as a marine company, totally understand the impact that this is having on the environment. But, we had this decision, do we spend more money to go and buy an environmentally friendly bag, or do I take the free plastic bag from Macro and use that? And it's like, it was just an economics decision. We were like, we're not going to spend money to buy the packaging, let Macro.
Well, we should Macro give this guy some earth-friendly packaging. There's your donation. calling out Macro.
So, we had some issues about this starting. People were like, you should be more environmentally friendly. You should limit the plastic. So we were better to keep everything quiet and just do everything under the radar, because then it was less problematic for us. But, like now that we do it publicly, we had the public brawl about it, and we stated very, very honestly, it's like, you come and you hop in a line and you tell that person at that line that they don't have a life bag today because you spent money on an environmentally friendly bag, and everyone said, no, not going to do that. Mm-hmm. Okay, we understand the economics. It's actually, this is the funny thing. My dad's a teacher, so I did a presentation to the UWCT school not long ago about the ethics of why we made this decision. Why we decided that plastic was the better option over spending money on environmentally friendly bags. And UWCT is a very, very environmentally friendly school and a sustainable school. And they were, after I explained the ethical impact and the economics of what we were doing, they're like, makes sense. We don't have a better option. You keep going with the plastic. Like, feed people is way more important right now. Let's worry about the environmental cleanup later on. So, it's like, these are some of the things, I suppose.
Yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You gotta find the balance there, and I think, and I mean that makes sense. And I don't think they're, even for me, I wasn't even thinking about the plastic. You're just seeing, you're feeding these families, and I think that's the meaning behind it all.
It is, and it's like, we gave all this time, money, and effort. It was just to help people, and it's like, yeah, okay, so maybe we did hurt the environment in some ways, and maybe we could have spent some money or time and effort to find a more environmentally friendly way. But at the time, it's like, it's just two businesses, and we're not. And
you had to go quick too. I mean, to source that packaging, that product, you're adding another layer, another step, which is, there's time delay of just getting the food to the families.
Yeah, I just say what I do is really simple. I go to Macro, I buy supply, I get it, I pack it, and then I go deliver it. And as long as I keep it, those three simple steps, it's easy to do. Yeah. Right. Once I start to complicate it and make it more and more and more and more steps, it's hard to do. Yeah. So keep it simple. And everyone says to me, "Oh, that's way simpler than it seems." And I'm like, "Yeah, that is an overly simplistic view of it, but that's how we started. It's literally, I would go to Macro, I'd buy it, I'd bring it to my house, I'd put it there. Nando and Amy and the staff would come, we'd pack it. The next day, we'd go deliver it. And we'd start the cycle again.
Yep.
And that's how it all started. And that was pre-volunteers and pre-One Phuket. One Phuket has allowed us to hit scale.
Yes.
It's allowed us to bring more people in, allowed us to buy more. It's allowed us to help more. It's allowed us to get a picture of Phuket out there. And it started to bring an international spotlight, like Sky News in the UK ran a story about Phuket and the need here and the devastation. And
you had some YouTubers reach out to you, Thailand YouTubers, Chris Parker from Retired From You. How did Chris come into this? How did he reach out to you? How did that all come together?
Chris is a great guy. I love Chris. So Chris hit me up on Messenger, I think. He sent me a video of some work he'd done in Koh Samui. And so he did a very similar life bag project in Koh Samui, but he only did it for a day. So he's like, I went and did it once. And he's like, somehow he found on social media that I'd been doing this for a long time. And he's like, I'm blown away that you can even do this every single day of the week. And he's like, I want to come down and I want to give you some exposure because I think that my subscribers would A, donate, but B, maybe come to Phuket in the future. So Chris came down and, Chris donated 300,000 Thai baht personally. Mm-hmm. And then off the back of his YouTube video, maybe another 500,000 baht came in. Yep. So his economic footprint is pretty big. Better, I'm going to put this on here and hope that the hotels here in Phuket listen to it. Bigger than any hotel in Phuket. This is
just from one
single YouTuber.
Canadian YouTuber.
Yeah, one single Canadian YouTuber. If I take all of the donations of all the Phuket hotels to our food drive program and combine it, it's less than him.
Yeah. And why don't we pull that up? Because I think there's some good content on there. He went out with you for the day.
Yeah, so he actually first started down at Sutai. So if you do pull it up, there's a little bit of footage here, I think.
Yeah, so let's pull that up. We're going to watch it on the screen. In post-production, it's here somewhere. So you can check out Chris Parker. He is Canadian, as am I. Actually, we just had the Stanley Cup playoffs today. Tampa Bay won.
But here's the thing, right? This is the cool part about Chris is every month he's doing this now.
Different charity work.
Different charity. Every month he highlights something within Thailand that is helping the locals.
Yep.
So he messaged me just a few days ago. He's down in Pattaya right now. He calls it his paid for program. So.
Okay, one sec. We're going to pull that up full screen. We'll kind of, I don't know if we can hear it, but is it recording now?
So this is the
it's on.
Okay, you can walk us through it.
This is where we start, right? This is at Sutai, packing the life bags.
There's Chris.
Yeah. So, every Saturday, 10 o'clock, volunteers come in.
There's Nando and Chris,
Yeah. So Nando gives us the space. All those rooms at the back are normally accommodation rooms, but they're full of supplies.
Okay.
So it's got all our rice, it's got all our life bag supplies, and once they're packed, the life bags get put back in the rooms. It's all locked up. These are all volunteers here from either people that Nando know, I know, Sutai know, or One Phuket know. They all come in, they all pack as a team. This particular day, we're packing 1,000 bags. And once we pack it all up, Chris is about to segue now, but we pack it all up, we put it onto trucks, and we take it to different communities. So 1,000 bags never goes to one community.
Okay.
Right. So we're trying to break it up and go to different communities on the island so we can help different people. So on this particular day, we're helping 4 communities. One's an island community and 3 are on Phuket communities. So I think we're talking Tasak Pier. Do you know this
No.
Tasak area? It's near Bang Rong.
Near Bang Rong.
Yeah. But not
this was what you guys were packing for that day.
Yeah. So we took about 200 bags from this 1,000 bag packs, and we took it to Tasak, and then we took another 300 bags, I think, to Phuket town.
So this is the bag where...
Yeah, this is the bag. So
we were talking
the
about
mackerel in there and everything. Yeah. As you can see, this is all a lot of foreigners here packing.
Yep.
Interestingly, pre One Phuket, everyone packing was pretty much Thai. So I get a little bit of heat every now and then. They're like, "Why don't the Thais help?" I'm like, "Well, the Thais carried this program for 9 months.
Yeah.
There was only Thai people packing. Nando, I, and Amy were the only foreigners that were doing the packing. So, and it's I always say it's part of the foreigners picking up some of the slack now to give the Thais a bit of a rest. My team a rest.
This is whose truck here?
So this is one of my staffs.
Okay. Now you're taking off.
Yep. So now there's 4 trucks, as you can see.
Yeah. So you're getting close to the monument now.
Yeah.
This is.
So this is the pier. This is Tasak Pier.
Yep.
Real little community. It's a Muslim community here. All centrals around this little restaurant that's right down the end of the pier. You're going to see the people that own this restaurant are also the Pua Baans of the area. So really, really, really nice.
This is how many people are living, you think, in that what do you call it, a village or?
So this village is 250 people in this village, 250 families in this village.
250
right?
families.
Yeah. So we gave 200 life bags that day to that village. So we're 50 short of what we really wanted to do to help that village, but we're always short.
Tasak Seafood. And so this is the restaurant of the village chief. He's owning this.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you're an expat, you should come down here. The food's really, really good.
What are they cooking there? Is it just basic Thai seafood?
Basic Thai seafood, yeah. And it's fresh because the fishermen of the village sell their fish to the restaurant to restaurant, cook it. So, you know,
it's open now. People could go check it out.
Yeah, they're struggling. They're really struggling. But yeah, you can go.
So guys,
check it out.
THAIS Seafood, it's in THAIS. Go check it out.
This is Kunzira. I think I talked about it earlier on in the podcast. In the middle, yeah. So,
and this is the Muay Thai trainer. I know this guy.
Yeah. So that's her dad to the left and her brother to the right. So,
that's her dad.
Yeah. So Zira works for me, but she's also family. So this is like a part of Zira has been running this since day one. You know, she's been a part of it since day one. She does the packing, she does the delivery, she works with the village leaders, and so her dad and brother come along and help as well. So on this day, it's like I think there's about 10, 15 staff of mine involved in this. Now we're segueing. This is a cool part. So
I've seen this.
Have you seen?
I've seen him play this before. Yeah, because I've trained with the Muay Thai. That guy has the most ridiculous neck. He is an absolute beast.
Have you done?
Yeah, I've clinched with him. You can't move him. He's tossing me, and I'm bigger than him a bit, but like his neck does not move.
He's rejecting me as a Muay Thai client of his now. He's like, you're too soft. He's like,
you're too soft. Get out of here.
He's like, you're never gonna fight. Get out of here. Go train with someone else.
Yeah, and I see him. He's probably 50. Do you think he's pushing 50?
Yeah.
Because I see him jogging around here all the time as well.
So
I've seen this song he's played. So now this process, you're giving it. So this is like how you set up as a central hub.
Yes. And so this is us working with a Phuket Baan and working with maybe some other government officials to set up a little safe environment where we can hand out life bags. They come up one side, they get around, they get the life bag, they go back out. Okay. This particular area now, so we're out of Tasak now. This has moved to stop 2. This stop 2 is Lemhin. Lemhin also, again, another seaside village area.
And we just saw the lady with the dry fish. She's selling that?
Yeah, selling that, yeah. So Chris is just highlighting some of the people in the community that we're helping, and also, you know, in his way, trying to push people to come to these areas to give business as well.
Yeah, because even living in Phuket, these areas, they're quite far for us. I mean, for even me to get out there, that's probably 30 plus minutes.
Yeah, but you know, Lam Hin was where I used to go. The seafood, Lam Hin seafood, there's a beautiful
Where
spot.
is Lam Hin? It's past Ben Rong?
So past Boat Lagoon. So
that way.
Yeah, go towards Phuket town and left-hand side.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Local pier, like a lot of my, some of my staff live on Coconut Island, so they take a long-tail boat from Coconut Island to Lam Hin, and Lam Hin they come to my pier.
They live on Coconut Island.
Yeah,
I didn't know people live there.
Yeah. That's one of those local communities that we help actually.
Is there anything else in this video that we could highlight and jump towards?
You can actually go to Coconut Island, so jump further down. So we actually jump on a boat here at some point. Maybe
that's what we got to tell.
Yeah, that's good. That's gonna.
We got to tell Chris. You got to timestamp your stuff. I'm joking. He's killing it. He's doing really well.
This part?
Yeah, so here we are loading up onto a boat. And you want to skip a little bit further down because he's going to film some of the footage of us getting on the boat. As you can see, the boys are all. This is the captain in the background there. His name is Nut. He actually lives on the island that we're going to go help.
Okay.
So he took a long tail boat to the boat to get there to come help us. So now they're here. So this island, Coconut Island here, that's the right hand side. That's a resort.
Who's that? Who's that handsome guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I get told to take the glasses off all the time. Here's an interesting story. This is interesting about Coconut Island. That resort right hand side normally is the number 1 employment place for this island. So a lot of the villagers, they all work on the resort.
What's the name of the resort?
Coconut Island Resort. Okay. Not a lot of customers right now. A lot of it's closed. So a lot of it, you can see the line here. This line is people lining up for your food. Waiting for us to.
So the whole island is pretty much reliant on that resort and maybe people, boat trips, day trips, people showing up.
Mainly that resort, a little bit of fishing. That's it. When we go there, lines like this is normal because they don't have a.
And how many village chiefs are on this island?
This island, just one village chief.
Just one village chief.
Just one village chief. But we also,
Do you see the village chiefs in any of the footage, or would they kind of stay away from it?
Yeah, so come back. If you come back, and maybe actually, if you let it go forward, just roll forward a little bit more.
Oh, it's probably gonna, yeah.
Yeah, there. Roll forward there a little bit more. Let him go forward another 30 seconds or so. He's got to get to the end of the line, and then he'll cut back to the front. So you can see the village health workers in the background there. Yellow shirt, black vest. But it's going to get to a point here. Yeah, hold it there, stop there. Or just before I speak, please don't let me speak.
I don't know. We're not going to hear it anyways. I think it would just be us talk. Oh, we're talking over it.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. We won't hear the audio from it.
So interesting, Brennan, what happened is because we gave for such a long period of time using just village chiefs, the village chiefs got such great respect for what we do. They started to say, other people in the government need to start to understand what you guys are doing because you've been doing it so long. You need recognition. We're like, we're not doing this for recognition. And they're like, we don't care. We want you to have recognition. Like you should at least in some way get the governor to come and say thank you, or you should get a district chief or someone that's not a Pua Baan to come and say thank you to you. So they started to drive this process with us. So left-hand side here, white shirt. This is the mayor of Got Gale. So he's
Gokgeo. That's up in the north?
Yeah, so middle of Phuket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have Pua Baan, then we go up is kind of Orbitor and Mayor. So this is one step above. So purple shirt's Pua Baan, white shirt is the Mayor. So this guy, I love the Mayor. He's a really cool guy. And he's done a lot to help us widen the way we work in the government. So this is one of the coolest, and I give credit to One Phuket for this because I would never have ever stepped out of working with the Pua Baans and started working with higher levels of government if One Phuket didn't give us the confidence to do that. And so now we're in this situation, like today I'm here, but down in Phuket town, my wife is with the governor with about 40 of the.
I think you can keep playing it. Is it still going or no?
Yeah. So right now. So right now she's down in town, and there's about 40 government volunteers helping her give out today.
Okay.
So you see, in the expat social media, you see a lot of expats helping, but what they don't see is in the Thai social media, they see there's a lot of Thais involved in my operation, and this is something I've been working on now with the government is working in a private business government partnership.
Yep.
So, okay, I understand in some way some people will be upset that the government can't help more, but behind the scenes I know they don't have the funds, So if I can have funding but also have easier access, have access to trucks that maybe I didn't have access to before.
I think it's okay. You can cut it and cut back to us.
This is Chris making a donation now.
We'll plug that as well, and we'll put this. Maybe we'll actually put this video at the end of this podcast so we can link to that. This is it's called An Unbelievable Story with Chris Parker on YouTube. Retired for You. So we'll put that in at the end, and I think that's a really interesting video to connect with this podcast as well that they can go watch.
Yeah, it's good.
So sorry, continue on your connections with the political side of things.
Yeah, so now I suppose we've evolved our thinking to because we're doing things at a bigger scale. You can see in the video we just watched, we had 4 trucks going out.
Yeah.
But what if we had one big government truck? And
like a dump truck or something more industrial.
Yeah. And you got to understand, it's like, while I have a philosophy that if anyone ever gives money to One Phuket to help buy life bags, none of that money can go to paying for fuel. None of that money can go to giving food to the volunteers or coffee to the volunteers or water to the volunteers. All of that is 100% to supply. So running a donation program, there's other costs, So it's like I got 4 trucks worth of fuel, right? Okay, that's not a big cost, but you do that 3 days a week. You do that every week of the year. You do that for 16 months, and that starts to add up over time. What if instead of me donating that, what if the government donated that? So they have trucks, they have a budget for fuel, they have drivers, and they have these recruits who are trying to go in the police force. So what if I had some of these guys coming to help pack it? Because you see on our Saturdays, they come and they pack 1,000 bags, but then they leave. And then on Monday, I got to go deliver them. So if all the effort then comes down to myself and Nando and our team moving 1,000 bags into 4 trucks and then moving from 4 trucks into a village, that's actually a lot of effort, right? And we don't have volunteers helping with that. So it falls back onto my team again. But what if I can involve the government in that aspect?
Yeah.
So instead of needing to have the expat volunteers to come and help with that part, now I've got 20 government volunteers coming to help. Okay, so this is where I talk about, taking our relationship with the Pua Baans to the next level, and they've introduced us to levels of government that allow us now to have access to these kind of things. Like when we packed 5,000 bags, the Royal Thai Navy sent 6 trucks and 40 recruits to go down and move 5,000, and this is a big effort, move 5,000 bags into trucks, and then from trucks into the community. That's not a small feat. No. That's a big feat of work, and couldn't have done it without the government partnership. Couldn't have done that without the Pua Baans going to the mayors, the mayors going to the district chiefs going to the governor and saying, hey, these guys really deserve your help. They're not asking for money. They're not asking.
Is this happening, or is it going to happen?
This is happening right now.
This is happening now. So this is going to scale to even another level.
Yeah,
shortly.
This is the evolution of what we're trying to do now. Is again, I still have this belief that no matter where the money comes from, Thais giving Thais is way better than foreigners giving Thais. I don't want that perception. I want it to be the perception of Thais helping each other.
What's your ideal goal? Like, to be able to feed 48,000 families a day? I mean, this is pretty unrealistic.
It's unrealistic.
But do you have any goal, or is it just, let's try and try our best? Like, you're not setting yourself or putting too much pressure on yourself.
I get a lot of people messaging me, asking me, like, you should register as a charity, you should do this, and what's your plan? And I'm like, this all started out as just like 2 small businesses wanting to help the community, and we've never stepped back enough to plan. It's like we just struggle to keep up with where we're at. Like we're just what's in the bank today. Like, what can we afford to give today? All right, that's what we're going to go order. That's what we're going to go order. That's what we're going to pack.
Yeah, you're going to add too much headache if you're trying to register and then create this process and deal with lawyers. I mean, you're just trying to make it simple and lean and just get it out the door.
And again, it's like...
plus it's the majority was financed by yourself. So it's not like, there's money coming in and you have to deal with that either. So.
Yeah, and again, I think it's like, you start out with this concept of we're just going to help people, and that's still authentically our message. We're just going to help people. Once I change that message to we're a charity and we want to get donations, I don't think I want to be involved in that.
Are you taking donations currently, or are you kind of you don't want to deal with that?
So personally, no, I don't take it. One Phuket is taking 1 donations, and that is something that I've been very clear about, and the delineation. I don't 5-star Marine, Shaun Stenning, Nando, Sutai. We don't take donations.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to donate, sure. Here's One Phuket's details. They handle donations. They do get some donations,
and then they'll buy the food and bring it to you guys.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes things a lot easier then.
Again, because I don't want to sit that accountability.
No. I get it.
I just want to be really authentic about what I'm doing. It's like I want to give, I want to help, and I don't want to be involved in the politics of a charity. And I want to be very involved in it. But I do have, I did say very strongly to the One Phuket team, and I am part of One Phuket, and I sit in a core management team there, and we're very particular. No money that they get donated goes to anything but buying supplies.
Okay.
100% of what they get goes straight into supplies.
Everything's strictly for the supplies and trying to keep that lean.
Yeah, and again, I think it comes down to my philosophy to start with. Let's keep everything lean. Let's put all the money into the supplies. Let's help as many people as we possibly can. And, not a single baht even goes to paying fuel, or like when we pack with our volunteers, we get water. Sometimes we'll get coffee. Sometimes we want to make it an environment that's comfortable for them.
Yeah.
No donated funds go to that. That comes from me. It comes from Nando. We do that. That's us giving. And if they see 5-star Marine boats going out, no donated funds go to pay for the fuel or pay for the stuff. I do that.
So what's the next step for you guys besides scaling at like a government industrial level? Is that the next phase?
I get asked this, and my answer early on is there's no next step. The next step is Phuket reopens, tourist comes, and I'm no longer needed, and I go back to running my business.
Do you think that when Phuket reopens, this charity continues to operate, or does it cease to exist?
My original thought is that it ceased to exist. My thought now is I've built such a great network inside the government I've built such a great network inside the expat community. There has to be something that we can do to help this island post this. What that is, I don't know yet. I'm not certain on what that is. Like the One Phuket have an idea around sustainability. They want to talk about trying to create more sustainability on the island.
Yeah, Nando was talking sustainable farming, and
So
it's quite it's challenging.
I speak very openly and say I don't know if that's next for me. So if someone watches this and says, well, "What's next for One Phuket?" Go look at One Phuket. Like what's next for Shaun and 5 Star? I think there's no way now I can go back to not being involved in some kind of charitable giving.
Yeah.
But as to what that makes up, I don't have the space in my day right now to think about that.
Yeah.
I think about tomorrow I've got to, today we had to receive supply delivery. We had a team down in Phuket town handing out life bags. Tomorrow I got to go audit my supplies. I got to check it against the invoice. I got to prepare for a pack on Saturday. I got to pack Saturday. I got to deliver Saturday afternoon. Sunday deliver. Monday deliver. Tuesday I got to order. Wednesday I got to start to receive. So that's my day.
Yeah. So when this reopens, you need to go back to your day job. So you're not going to be able to do this anyways.
So I just think,
who would you pass it to? Unless it's passed on to a charity or One Phuket takes it over and your brand or your name is behind it.
Yeah. So certainly I think on some point I want to use, I speak openly, in some way the government realizes all we've done and they want to do something to help us. And I want that to be the next step of what I do. And that's going to be something to help maybe a charity on the island that's existing. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's to help One Phuket. Maybe it's help Phuket has been good to us. Maybe it's help Good Shepherd. There's a lot of great charities on the island. I'm not certain I want to start another charity because I don't think that the island needs another charity. But maybe an existing charity, maybe I need to go and see what I can do using the networks I've got to help them. Because to walk away and not use that influence, I think that is... and not use that network, like it's 16 months.
We were talking before. We're starting a charity, but it's very slow because we're doing too many things. But eventually, in our pipeline, we want to do like a Muay Thai Youth Foundation, and actually, I'm working that with Nando. It's very early. I'm talking maybe a year from now or more. Hopefully within a year. But we will be doing some sort of a charity that takes donations, that goes directly into the owner's pockets at the gym, that they're using that money to bring on the youth into their gyms to pay for their education, food, clothing, and to also, we were talking about getting money back to their families back home, because that's the whole reason that they come to train. I know it's sad, but they're going to do it anyways.
So I think the next, for me, I think the next evolution of what we do, Nando and I do in the charity, will just naturally show up like it has for us right now. Like this has been a very organic thing. We haven't pushed it. It's kind of like how I started my private boat business. It just organically grew and I went with it, and the charity work is kind of organically grown and we've gone with it. Like 2 weeks ago, the managers of the Phuket Has Been Good to Us charity came to us and said, hey, a couple of our teachers need a letter from the governor to help them to get their work permit renewed. Can you help? I'm like, yeah, of course I can help, So that's a natural movement forward, So we just use our network and call and say, hey, can you help this charity? They get the letter they need, the work permits come through. That charity now can go and teach 200 kids for the next year. And I'm like, if stuff like that, that's an organic growth of what we're doing. And it's like, if you came to me and say, I'm going to run a Muay Thai thing, I need an event pass, I need some government approval, I need some health officers, I need this and that. I'm like, we have the network to do that.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we can move the network to do that. And I think like the organic growth of what we will be doing is like, we won't be a charity per se. We just might be behind the scenes helping charities with the network we've got.
But you've created the foundation. Those parts are put into place, which, I mean, that's the time consuming aspect of any charity. It's running now. The wheel's spinning. If someone else is wearing the hat, it's not the end of the world.
And again, Nando and I never did this because we wanted to be known as charitably giving people. It's just, we did it because we wanted to do it. And I think we're just going to keep doing something. But as to what that is, once the need for life back goes away, I
Well, I think let's end that on a high note. I think that we've probably done about 2 hours plus.
Sorry.
No, that's good. I think we got a lot of excellent information in there. What we'll do next is this is not what is it? This is not Hot Wings. I'm not going to tell you to look at all 3 cameras. But if you want to talk to this camera and tell the audience where they can find you. You might as well plug One Phuket so they love you at the end of this. Where and if someone wants to volunteer their time, how they can reach out, just plug away at this camera.
Yeah, so I think firstly, if you'd like to find out like what we're doing in terms of community, One Phuket does a really great job of showing what's happening in the community. So go to their Facebook; it's a group. So you just go to Facebook, join the One Phuket group. Every Saturday, 10 o'clock, Sutai, we do our donation packing then. You don't need to message me and let me know that you're coming. Just turn up. More the hands, the merrier. I always say to anybody, the more people we have helping pack, the less each individual person has to do, and makes it less of a burden, makes it more of a, and it's great energy. Come to the gym, you're going to feel some really great community spirit, and that's what I want you to see. That's what I'm really proud of, is that community spirit. So, on the charitable giving side of things, I think, One Phuket, the Facebook group, come to the gym, help us out on a Saturday. You want to see what we're doing as a company, 5-Star Marine on Facebook, or
your Instagram handle is
I didn't even know that.
5-Star Marine, but we'll post it there. It will virtually appear.
It'll virtually appear somewhere. Yeah. I'm horrible.
Yeah, I got you. So, so that's pretty much it for the episode. Again, come to, what am I looking at that one now? I get lost. Okay. So if you want to help out, it's with Shaun Stenning and Nando Bohalyo. You can see them at Sutai Muay Thai, also with Amy Sharp, Nando's wife, and you'll see little Hunter running around. On our side, like this video, swipe up, swipe left, swipe right, subscribe. While you're hitting like, just move over there, click the subscribe button. Maybe that little bell, give it a tap, not too hard, just give it a tap. And you can find us at Fruiting Body Podcast. We'll be bringing out mushrooms later that are beneficial for your health, and we'll explain that another time. At Fruiting Body Mushrooms. We're going to be releasing tons of other content, Muay Thai and mushrooms, people of Phuket. We'll be doing some events, some charity work as well, but let's get into that. And thanks again, Shaun, for joining us. This was our episode with Shaun Stenning from 5-Star Marine Phuket. Get to Sutai, donate, looking at all the cameras, and thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, dude. That was amazing, guys. That was amazing.
Awesome.